Chapter 42:18. Lu Ming's face became heavier and heavier. He couldn't interfere in such a great battle. The gap was too big. This was a battle between the strongest forces in the universe. He wasn't qualified to participate. Sooner or later, I'll be able to participate in such a great battle. That day won't be too far away. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly. At this moment, the faces of many people in Primordial Divine Lake also darkened. Boom, boom, boom. The attacks continued. The four cities shook more and more violently. The lake water in Primordial Divine Lake also shook violently, creating thousands of waves. Crack. With an ear-piercing sound, a crack appeared on the light shield. Although the crack wasn't big, it made the hearts of everyone in Primordial Divine Lake sink. The Grand Array couldn't hold on any longer. It had been torn apart. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before the Grand Array was completely destroyed. Seeing this, Yale Lord of Heaven and the others were overjoyed. Stubborn resistance. You'll be destroyed in the end. Yale Lord of Heaven said coldly. His body was covered by the power of heaven. Each of his attacks contained destructive power. The Angel Race and Blood Race God Lords also increased their attacks. Crack. Asterisk crack. Asterisk more and more cracks appeared on the light shield. Terrifying energy seeped in through the cracks. Some people couldn't dodge in time and were hit by this energy. Their bodies exploded and they died on the spot. It's over. Am I really going to die here today? Is Primordial Divine Lake going to be destroyed? Indeed, we can't fight against the Heavenly Palace. Since ancient times, those who fought against the Heavenly Palace didn't have a good ending. Many people lamented. Some even began to doubt their own beliefs. Don't panic. The God Lords will come and save us. That's right. The incipient God Lords will come and save us. Some leaders in the four cities shouted, trying to calm the soldiers down. You're still hoping that they'll come and save you? Ridiculous. They can't even protect themselves now. Yale Lord of Heaven sneered and continued to attack. More and more cracks appeared on the light shield. In the end, they covered it like a spider web. It seemed like it would collapse at any moment. Roar. Right at this critical moment, a violent roar suddenly resounded from the Primordial Divine Lake. Crash! In the Primordial Divine Lake, huge waves surged into the sky. Amidst the huge waves, a figure appeared, standing tall and upright. Incipient God Realm. Someone exclaimed. Incipient God Realm was the honorific title for the primitive God Spirit. Suddenly, another Primordial Divine Spirit appeared in the Primordial Divine Lake. Lu Ming's heart trembled violently. No, it's not a real Primordial Divine Spirit. It's just a soul. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes widened as he realized that this Primordial Divine Spirit wasn't corporeal, nor was it a living Primordial Divine Spirit. Roar! The primitive Divine Spirit roared and waved his fist towards Yale, the Lord of Heaven in the sky. His power was very strong and very shocking. Humph! You're just a divine soul, and you want to fight with me? Then, let me completely destroy you. Yale shouted coldly and slashed down with his sword. With a boom, the Primordial Divine Spirit's divine soul was pushed back. A sword wound appeared on his fist as it was split in half. However, his injured fist recovered quickly. Roar! Roar! Caw! All kinds of sounds came from the Primordial Divine Lake. Then, huge figures appeared in the Primordial Divine Lake continuously. All of them were Primordial Divine Spirits, but they weren't corporeal. They were all divine souls of Primordial Divine Spirits. There were more than 30 of them. Some of them were in human form, some were in beast form, and some were in bird form. From afar, it looked as if dozens of Primordial Divine Spirits had appeared in the sky above the Primordial Divine Lake. It was a spectacular scene. The appearance of dozens of Primordial Divine Spirits shocked the people in the four cities. Then, there was a burst of cheers. Excited, too excited. The Grand Array was already on the verge of collapse. Now that dozens of Primordial Divine Spirits had appeared, they might be saved. Lu Ming was also delighted. There are so many Primordial Divine Spirits. Legend has it that the Primordial Divine Lake gave birth to 72 Primordial Divine Spirits. Are they left behind by these Primordial Divine Spirits? Lu Ming's mind was racing. At the same time, Yale Lord of Heaven and the others were also shocked. No matter who it was, they would be shocked to see dozens of Primordial Divine Spirits suddenly. However, Yale Lord of Heaven quickly adjusted. Humph, they're just divine spirits. Watch me kill them all. Heavenly punishment power. Yale Lord of Heaven roared. An even more terrifying aura spread out from his body. The battle sword in his hand was covered with a layer of terrifying power. That was the heavenly punishment power. The elites of the heavenly human race could control the power of the heavens. The power of the heavens was a very powerful force. However, the power of the heavens could still be evolved. The power of the heavens could be transformed into 4 more terrifying forces, which were the heavenly punishment power, heavenly extermination power, and heavenly ferocious power. Only the top monsters of the heavenly human race could control these 4 forces. Back in the great ancient world, Yi Yu, who fought with Lu Ming, could control some of the heavenly punishment power. The Lord of Heaven of the heavenly human race were undoubtedly the top monsters of the heavenly human race. It was not surprising that they could control these 4 forces. For example, Damning Lord of Heaven could control the heavenly punishment power. Yale Lord of Heaven could also control the heavenly punishment power. Swoosh! With a slash of his sword, a sword light that contained the heavenly punishment power slashed downward. Roar! Roar! The divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits roared. Their huge bodies soared into the sky and unleashed all kinds of attacks. The divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were naturally much weaker than when they were at their peak. Any one of them was no match for Yale Lord of Heaven. However, there were too many of them. If 1 was not enough, there would be 2. If 2 were not enough, there would be 3. A few divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits rushed forward and successfully blocked Yale Lord of Heaven's attack. The other divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits charged toward the 2 divine masters of the angel race and the blood clan, as well as the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. Yale Lord of Heaven and the other 2 divine masters were strong enough to block the attacks for a while. However, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals were not so strong. Although they had formed an array, they could not block such a powerful attack. Roar! A primordial divine spirit of the primordial divine spirit in the shape of a giant bull stepped on the air and charged over. Its scimitar-like horns crashed into the array of the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals, causing the array to shake violently. Some of the weaker heavenly soldiers screamed in pain. Their bodies exploded and they died on the spot. Many of the heavenly soldiers with higher cultivation also vomited blood and were severely injured. However, a primordial divine spirit of the primordial divine spirit that looked like a phoenix flew over and sprinkled a large amount of flames. The temperature of this flame was shockingly high. It burned the formation, and many people's terrifying power passed through the formation and killed them. In a few moments, at least 1,000 heavenly soldiers had died. All of you retreat first. Yale Lord of Heaven shouted. He and the other 2 divine masters resisted with all their might, forcing the other heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals to retreat. Chapter 42:19. Yale Lord of Heaven roared as he and the other 2 divine masters fought back with all their might. They temporarily blocked all the divine souls of the primitive divine spirits. The heavenly soldiers and divine generals took the opportunity to retreat out of the world wall. Roar! Roar! The divine souls of the primitive divine spirits roared as they continued to attack. Yale Lord of Heaven and the other 2 divine masters were finally unable to resist and were hit. They coughed up blood and retreated. However, they were powerful and were only injured. It would not be easy to kill them. They used their movement techniques and quickly retreated out of the world wall. The divine souls of the primitive divine spirits did not chase after them. They just hovered above the primitive divine lake. Great! Great! The people in the 4 cities of the primitive divine lake cheered excitedly when they saw this scene. Obviously, most of them did not know that the primitive divine lake had such a trump card. Dozens of primitive divine spirits were holding down the fort. This was a powerful pressure that made it difficult for the people from the heavenly palace to get close. Outside the world wall, Yale Lord of Heaven's face was gloomy as his eyes flashed with cold light. Lord of Heaven, what should we do? The divine master of the angel race asked. Today, the primitive divine lake must be destroyed. The Lord God's heart must not fall into their hands. Otherwise they might give birth to an invincible person. This cannot happen. I will send a message back to the heavenly palace and ask the heavenly palace to send more experts. We must destroy the primitive divine lake no matter what. Yale Lord of Heaven said coldly as his glabella glowed. He was activating the dreamy heavenly jade to send a message to the experts of the heavenly palace. A while later. All right, The Heavenly Palace has responded. Soon, there will be Divine Master experts coming to reinforce us. Yale Lord of Heaven said. On the side, the Angels and Blood Tribe powerhouses all smiled. They waited quietly. The people in the 4 cities of the primitive Divine Lake had no choice but to wait with the other party. With their strength, they could only stay in the cities and use the array to defend themselves, let alone attack. As for the primordial divine spirits, they seemed to be only defending and would not rush out to attack. They could only wait and hope that the Divine Lord Realm experts of the primordial divine lake could defeat the enemy and rush back to reinforce them. However, many people's hearts were heavy. They knew that this time, they were in danger. The Heavenly Palace had come prepared. Could the strong cultivators of the primitive divine lake really defeat them? Time passed by second. Soon, half an hour had passed. Buzz buzz. Suddenly, ripples appeared in the void outside the world barrier, and then one figure after another appeared out of thin air. There were more than 30 figures in total. Among them, more than 10 were from the heavenly human tribe, and the others were from other races. For example, the Angel race, Blood tribe, Demon Master, Battle Saint tribe, Buddha race, etc. Most of them were from the top 10 races, and their auras were exceptionally terrifying. Divine Masters. They were all Divine Masters. The hearts of everyone at the primordial divine lake started to sink. In the Heavenly Palace, another 30 or so Divine Masters had appeared. How were they supposed to fight? It's great that you are here. There are still some primordial divine spirit souls in the primordial divine lake. They are quite troublesome. Let's deal with them together. Yale Lord of Heaven said. Looks like the power of the primordial divine lake has exceeded our initial expectations. As expected, we can't let these traitors stay for long. We have to get rid of them as soon as possible to prevent future trouble. Another middle-aged heavenly human tribe said coldly with a cold gaze. This man was also a heaven monarch. His name was Yi Fu. He was extremely powerful and had a cold and domineering personality. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward and charged into the world barrier. A powerful aura exploded from his body. He held a long staff in his hand, and his aura was like a rainbow as he directly smashed down with it. Instantly, a huge staff struck down at the primordial divine lake, causing the entire primordial divine lake to shake. Roar! Je! The divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits roared and shot into the sky. Their bodies were covered in dazzling divine light as they charged toward Yi Fu. Kill! Yale Lord of Heaven and the other divine masters also attacked. The attacks from both sides collided in the void, creating a destructive force. The 4 cities below quickly activated their arrays to defend themselves. Boom! 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 A terrifying explosion occurred. The entire primordial divine lake world seemed to be destroyed. The 4 cities shook violently and the primordial divine lake surged with huge waves. More than 30 divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were smashed into the primordial divine lake. They were no match for them. After all, these were only the divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits. Their combat power wasn't at its peak and they weren't a match for a divine master. Facing a similar number of divine masters and Lord of Heaven, the divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were no match for them and were crushed. The divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits struggled and shot into the sky again, pouncing toward the divine masters of the heavenly palace. The 2 sides started to fight again. Unfortunately, the divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were no match for them. After a few blows, some of the divine spirits couldn't take it anymore. Bam! A bull-shaped primordial divine spirit was hit by Lord of Heaven's long rod and its entire head exploded. Then, the long rod pressed down and the bull-shaped primordial divine spirit's body exploded, turning into rays of light and appearing in another place. However, the light was much dimmer and its energy was weaker. Although it was a divine spirit of the primordial divine spirit and could be restored even if its body was shattered, its energy would be destroyed and it would become weaker and weaker. After a while, it would disappear completely. I have killed a living primordial divine spirit in the past, let alone a divine spirit. You want to stop me? Ridiculous! Lord of Heaven sneered as he waved his long rod and charged forward. A few divine spirits of the primordial divine spirits were knocked away, and his long rod hit the bull-shaped primordial divine spirit's divine spirit. Bam! The bull-shaped primordial divine spirit's divine spirit exploded again, turning into rays of light and trying to form in another place. Divine punishment. Disappear for me. Lord of Heaven yelled coldly as he grabbed with one hand. Suddenly, endless white lightning appeared and filled the sky, enveloping the bull-shaped primordial divine spirit. This was one of the 4 strongest powers of heaven, the power of divine punishment. Back then, Yu had also controlled the power of divine punishment, but compared to Lord of Heaven, it was much weaker. It was like comparing a candle flame to the moon. Sizzle! Sizzle! The boundless power of divine punishment enveloped the bull-shaped primordial divine spirit's divine spirit. The bull-shaped primordial divine spirit let out an angry roar, but the roar immediately disappeared. The bull-shaped primordial divine spirit's divine spirit was completely destroyed. On the other side, Yale Lord of Heaven had also destroyed a primordial divine spirit's divine spirit. Normally speaking, a primordial divine spirit's divine spirit would exist for eternity and would be difficult to destroy. However, heavenly monarch realm existences were too strong. They controlled the strongest power of the heavens, and their power was boundless. They could destroy everything. Even a primordial divine spirit's divine spirit would not be able to withstand it. After destroying a primordial divine spirit's divine spirit, they continued to kill the next one. Chapter 42:20. The primordial divine spirits were unable to withstand the attacks of the heavenly palace's experts. They were completely suppressed. As the Lord of Heaven obliterated the primordial divine spirits, the battle became even more one-sided. The battle continued, but the number of primordial divine spirits continued to dwindle. Every few minutes, a primordial divine spirit would be obliterated. Soon, the number of primordial divine spirits decreased from more than 30 to about 20. It's over. We can't hold on any longer. We're going to lose. Is there another trump card in the primordial divine lake? I remember that the primordial divine lake gave birth to 72 primordial divine spirits. The hearts of the people in the 4 cities were extremely heavy. Some of them were even in despair. Some of them hoped that the primordial divine lake still had another trump card. Legend had it that 72 primordial divine spirits were born in the primordial divine lake. Would there be 72 primordial divine spirits? Right now, only 30 or so of them had appeared. Would there be another 30 or so of them? Many people hoped so. Unfortunately, they were destined to be disappointed. The primordial divine lake did not move. No new primordial divine spirits appeared, and no other trump cards appeared. Seeing the primordial divine spirits being obliterated one after another, many people were in despair. Was the primordial divine lake really going to be destroyed today? Boom! At this moment, the void shattered. A huge figure emerged from the void and threw a punch at one of the heavenly palace's lords. That Lord God was caught off guard. He was hit and his body exploded into 2. The 2 halves of his body flew out and merged together. However, his face was pale and his aura was weak. He had been severely injured. Hong, you're courting death. Yale Lord of Heaven roared and slashed with his sword. That's right. The huge figure that suddenly appeared was the primordial divine spirit, Hong. Boom! Heaven Monarch Yale and Hong exchanged a blow. Just as the 2 of them exchanged a blow, the void flashed, and a terrifying energy burst out like a sharp sword, piercing towards the primordial godly spirit Hong. This energy was too strong, too fast, and too ruthless. Hong had just exchanged a blow with Yale, so there was no way he could avoid it. Puff! Blood splattered everywhere as Hong's abdomen was pierced through by this blast of energy. Hong's massive body was sent flying backwards. His body, which was even larger than a planet, had a huge hole blasted open as blood flowed out. Not far away, a figure stepped out, his golden hair fluttering in the wind. It was the Lord of Heaven from the Great Dream. Your opponent is me. The Great Dream Lord of Heaven spoke coldly as the power of Great Dream emanated from him. However, a lion's roar rang out, blocking the Great Dream force. The primordial divine spirit, Lion, appeared and pounced towards the Great Dream Lord of Heaven. At the same time, Hong let out a furious roar and launched a counterattack. The 2 powerful primitive god spirits fought against the Lord of Heaven from the Great Dream Realm, breaking through the void and leaving this place. Today, no one can save you. The Yale Lord of Heaven said coldly. Ah, that's not good. Enemy attack. As soon as the Yale Lord of Heaven's voice trailed off, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals outside the world wall exclaimed. This made the Yale Lord of Heaven's face darken as he was very unhappy. I just said a few words to show off, and you're already yelling at me. What's the meaning of this? He turned his head and was about to reprimand them, but as if he had seen something shocking, his face changed drastically and his pupils suddenly shrank. At this time, the other overlords of the heavenly palace also looked outside the world wall and their faces changed. Because in that direction, a planet was flying towards them rapidly. If it was an ordinary planet, it wouldn't be a big deal. There were too many planets in the universe. However, this planet was different. It was too big. It was many times bigger than an ordinary planet. When it rushed over, it let out an earth-shattering dragon roar. The Dragon Clan's mother planet? What's going on? Why did the Dragon Clan's mother planet fly here? Several Divine Master Realm existences roared, their voices filled with bewilderment. Below, Lu Ming was also dumbfounded. That's right, the planet that was flying towards them was the Dragon Clan's mother planet. The Dragon Clan's mother planet had flown here. This was beyond everyone's expectations. The Dragon Clan's mother planet was extremely huge. As it flew, it let out an earth-shattering dragon roar that shook the universe. The huge planet was aiming at the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. If they were hit, these heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals would be crushed to death. Dragon Clan, you're courting death. The Yale Lord of Heaven roared and stepped out. In a flash, he left the primeval divine lake world and appeared in front of the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Stop the Dragon Clan's mother planet first. The Yef Lord of Heaven also spoke. In a flash, he also left the place and stood side by side with the Yale Lord of Heaven. The other overlords also appeared behind them. I let you guys go back then, but now you're here to join in the fun. Then, I'll kill you all. The Yale Lord of Heaven said coldly. The battle sword in his hand gave off a dazzling glow as he slashed at the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Kill. The Yef Lord of Heaven also roared. He slashed out with his long rod. It was so huge that it covered the entire Dragon Clan's mother planet. At the same time, the other 30 overlords also attacked. With so many overlords attacking together, the power was too shocking. The boundless starry sky was turned into darkness as everything was destroyed. If this attack was left alone, it could instantly destroy a galaxy. Although there was 1,000 dragons array on the Dragon Clan's mother planet, it could not withstand such a terrifying attack. It would definitely be destroyed in an instant. Once the array was destroyed, even if the Dragon Clan's mother planet could not be destroyed, the living beings on the Dragon Clan's mother planet would definitely die. Roar! At this moment, a terrifying dragon roar came from the Dragon Clan's mother planet. This dragon roar was earth-shattering and instantly spread out a few galaxies. Then, a huge black dragon appeared on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. This black dragon only had 5 dragon claws. It looked like a 5-clawed black dragon, but the aura that it gave off was extremely terrifying. It suppressed the starry sky and caused it to tremble. With a loud dragon roar, the black dragon flew out. Its dragon claws covered the starry sky as it stepped on it. It actually covered the attacks of the 30 overlords. Boom! A terrifying roar sounded. The huge black dragon flew back and floated above the Dragon Clan's mother planet again. However, the attacks of the several dozen divine masters had all been blocked. At this moment, the dozens of overlords, including the Yale Lord of Heaven and the others, were all stunned. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. These 30 over-living beings were all overlords. Among them, there were 2 Lord of Heaven and a few other overlords. Their combat strength was not much weaker than the Lord of Heaven. With so many people joining forces, how terrifying was the power! Even the damning Lord of Heaven would not be able to block it head-on. However, the black dragon managed to block it. Chapter 42-21. Ao Qian, how did you recover so quickly? Yale shouted in shock. That was right. The 5-clawed black dragon that had rushed out from the dragon tribe's mother planet was Ao Qian, the world annihilation black dragon. Although I haven't recovered much, it's more than enough to deal with all of you. Ao Qian said. His voice was deep and domineering. I don't believe it. You almost died back then. How can you recover from such serious injuries? You're just holding on. Let's attack together. He won't be able to last more than a few moves. Yale Lord of Heaven roared. His combat sword emitted a dazzling light as he unleashed the full power of God's punishment. Swoosh! A terrifying sword shadow slashed towards Ao Qian. God's punishment, Be destroyed. Yale, Lord of Heaven, roared as well. His long staff slashed down. One could see countless white thunderbolts on the long staff. That was the power of God's punishment. At the same time, the other divine masters also unleashed their trump cards and attacked Ao Qian. The second wave of attacks was even more violent and terrifying than the first. Roar! Ao Qian roared as his body grew rapidly. His huge dragon body twisted as he stepped out with his dragon claws. Rays of terrifying black light flew out from his dragon claws and pierced through the universe. They collided with the attacks of Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the others. There was a loud explosion. This time, there was still no clear winner. Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the others' attacks were blocked. Ao Qian twisted his body and the space was torn apart. He rushed into the space and disappeared. In the next moment, a dragon claw suddenly appeared beside one of the divine masters and grabbed at him. The divine master was shocked. He wanted to break open the void and escape, but it was too late. With a bang, the divine master was torn apart by the black dragon claw. Everything was obliterated, and the divine master died on the spot. A divine master was killed just like that. Damn it! Yale, Lord of Heaven, and the others roared as they attacked the void with all their might. The void exploded and Ao Qian's figure was revealed. Several attacks landed on Ao Qian's body. Ao Qian's body trembled and he was sent flying. Unfortunately, it did not cause any harm to Ao Qian. Only a few shallow marks appeared on the scales on his body. Ao Qian's strength was many times stronger than when Lu Ming was on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Back then, even with the help of the Dragon Clan's mother planet, he still couldn't deal with Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the other divine masters working together. In the end, it was Fei Huang's soul incarnation that made Yale and the others retreat. But now, Ao Qian was able to suppress Yale and the others on his own. One had to know that Yale and the others had dozens of divine master realm existences. No wonder Yale was so shocked. When Ao Qian was at his peak, Yale was naturally no match for him. When he saw Ao Qian, he would definitely turn around and run as fast as he could. However, he knew very well that Ao Qian had been severely injured in the dragon-slaying battle. Many people even thought that Ao Qian had been killed. Later on, they found out that Ao Qian was still alive. But even if he wasn't dead, he was just at death's door. He was extremely weak and had barely reached the Divine Master Realm. Logically speaking, it was almost impossible for him to recover from such a serious injury. But how many years had it been? How could Ao Qian have recovered to such a level? What happened? Boom! Ao Qian retreated, twisted his body, and charged toward the Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others. His body had shrunk to only about 10 meters long, but his speed was shockingly fast. With a twist of his body, he charged toward Yale and the others like a bolt of lightning. He dodged the attacks and charged toward a Divine Master Realm expert. Whoosh! When he was close enough, Ao Qian's dragon armor flew out and slashed out like two curved blades. Poof! The head of the Divine Master in front flew high into the air. Blood splattered for hundreds of millions of miles and shattered the meteorite. His head was chopped off, but he was still alive. His eyes were filled with fear. He controlled the head and wanted to escape, but there were two dragon horns. Before he could retreat, the second dragon horn was chopped off. The head was cut in half. His soul was destroyed, and he died on the spot. The second Divine Master was killed. This time, the other Divine Masters were frightened. They frantically retreated to distance themselves from Ao Qian. Don't split up. Gather together. Don't give him a chance to attack us one by one. The Lord of Heaven roared. He was very fast. With a swing of his staff, streaks of white lightning burst out and hit Ao Qian's two dragon horns. The two dragon horns flew out and returned to Ao Qian's head. The Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others took the opportunity to gather together and retreat quickly. They were like an iron bucket. Kill! Ao Qian roared and charged forward. He launched an attack and fought with the Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others. However, the Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others had learned their lesson this time. They gathered together and attacked and retreated together. For a time, Ao Qian couldn't succeed. He could only suppress the Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others. Just like that, the battle went on for more than 10 rounds. Neither side could do anything to the other. Who is it? Ao Qian, who was in the middle of the battle, suddenly stopped as if he had encountered something terrifying. He quickly retreated to the side of the dragon race's mother planet. His aura merged with the dragon race's mother planet. He looked around cautiously as if something terrifying was approaching. The Yale, the Lord of Heaven, and the others looked at each other. They didn't feel anything. Ao Qian, I didn't expect your spiritual senses to be so sharp. At this moment, a voice rang out in the starry sky. This voice sounded very old and full of vicissitudes. However, no one knew where it came from or where it came from. It was as if it came from all directions. Crack! Suddenly, a lightning bolt appeared above Ao Qian. A pure white lightning bolt appeared. It wasn't thick, only the size of an arm. It struck towards Ao Qian at an unimaginable speed. Facing this inconspicuous lightning bolt, Ao Qian looked as if he was facing a formidable enemy. The scales all over his body stood up like hair. Roar! Ao Qian let out an earth-shattering dragon roar. The dragon race's mother planet also trembled slightly. Endless energy surged from the dragon race's mother planet and merged with Ao Qian. Then, Ao Qian clawed out with a dragon claw. This was his strongest attack in his current state. It gathered the power of the dragon race's mother planet. Boom! The dragon claw caught the pure white lightning bolt. There was an earth-shattering explosion. The endless starry sky trembled. Many living beings on the life planets looked at the starry sky in horror as if a catastrophe was about to befall them. After the violent explosion, Ao Qian's body trembled violently and he retreated. Even the dragon race's mother planet was the same. Ao Qian retreated rapidly until he was billions of miles away. One could see that Ao Qian's dragon claw was badly mutilated. It was pitch black and looked charred. Not only that, but there were also wounds on his body. One could vaguely see tiny lightning bolts swimming around. Chapter 42-22. One move, just one move, and Ao Qian was injured. Moreover, Ao Qian had gathered the power of the dragon tribe's mother planet. Otherwise, the situation would have been worse. The power of the origin source. Ao Qian muttered. His eyes were solemn. In the distant starry sky, the void trembled slightly, and a figure suddenly appeared. Seeing this figure, Ao Qian's pupils suddenly shrank. He said seriously, "It's you, old man, ancestor." As for Yale and the others, when they saw this figure, they cried out in surprise and revealed ecstatic expressions. This was a member of the celestial race, an old celestial race member. He looked extremely old. His golden hair had lost its luster and was no longer golden. It was like dry weeds growing on his head. His body was no longer straight. Instead, it was hunched over. The wrinkles on his face piled up like a mountain. His eyes were squinted, and there was no luster in them. This was an old man who looked like he would collapse at any moment. However, Ao Qian's eyes were extremely solemn. Yale and the others called him ancestor. The elder from the heavenly human tribe stood in the air and walked towards Ao Qian step by step. Ao Qian's body tensed up. He slowly retreated with the dragon tribe's mother planet. I didn't expect the primordial divine lake to lure you out. Aren't you afraid of dying in an accident? Ao Qian said coldly. The Master God's heart is no small matter. Besides, you have the forbidden body. It's worthy of an old man like me to take action. The old man chuckled, revealing 2 rows of jagged teeth. He stared at Ao Qian with his turbid eyes and said, Ao Qian, I didn't expect you to survive the battle back then. Moreover, you've recovered such combat strength. I can't let you live. Today, I'll kill you once and for all. As soon as his voice fell, the old heavenly human attacked. At this moment, a terrifying aura surged out of his aged body. As soon as this aura appeared, not only the galaxy, but the entire star region trembled. It was as if it could not withstand the aura of the old heavenly human tribe and trembled in front of him. At this moment, he did not seem to be an old man. Instead, he seemed to be an invincible expert who dominated the world. This terrifying aura also passed through the gap in the world wall and into the primordial divine lake world. The entire primordial divine lake world was constantly trembling. The primordial divine lake's water, which had been surging with huge waves, had also calmed down, without a single ripple. What a terrifying aura! How can this aura be so strong? It's several times stronger than the great Dream Lord of Heaven. How is this possible? Lu Ming was deeply shocked. The great Dream Lord of Heaven was known as one of the strongest lords of heaven in the heavenly palace. However, The aura of this heavenly human elder was several times stronger than that of the great Dream Lord of Heaven. What kind of cultivation was this? Above the Divine Master? However, according to the information he had gathered, wasn't the Divine Master Realm already the pinnacle of the universe? Could there be an even stronger existence above the Divine Master Realm? Was this the true trump card of the Heavenly Palace? Under the Heavenly Punishment, those who violate the rules of the Heavenly Palace will be punished. The voice of the Heavenly Human Tribe Elder rang out. Then, he pointed out a finger. Sizzle. Pure white thunderbolts shot out from the Elder's hand. They turned into thunderbolts that covered the sky and covered Ao Qian. Ao Qian's face was extremely solemn. He let out a roar and his body grew rapidly. In the end, he was even bigger than the Dragon Tribe's mother planet. He opened his mouth and a bead flew out of his mouth. One could see countless mystical dragons swimming within the bead. This was the treasure of the Dragon Tribe, the 10,000 Dragon Pearl. Under Ao Qian's control, the 10,000 Dragon Pearl roared and countless divine dragons flew out. They flew towards the Heavenly Human Elder and collided with the Heavenly Punishment. However, the opponent was too strong, and Ao Qian's cultivation was far from his peak. Even with the help of the Dragon Clan's mother planet and the power of the 10,000 Dragon's Pearl, he still couldn't stop the opponent. There were still traces of heavenly punishment that broke through Ao Qian's attack and landed on his body. Puff puff puff. Blood spurted out from Ao Qian's body. The scales on his body were also broken and some of them flew out. Heavenly punishment. Unknowingly, the Heavenly Human Elder had appeared not far from Ao Qian and broke through Ao Qian's defense. A long sword appeared in his hand. It exuded a terrifying fluctuation and slashed towards Ao Qian's head. This was the heavenly punishment, one of the 4 strongest heavenly powers. Not only did the Heavenly Human Elder control the heavenly punishment, but he also controlled the heavenly punishment. It was extremely terrifying. Ao Qian's pupils shrank rapidly. He couldn't block this sword. However, Ao Qian didn't panic. This was because a figure appeared silently in front of Ao Qian. It was a woman. She was peerless and unparalleled in the world. Fei Huang. This woman was the immeasurable heavenly demon, Fei Huang. Fei Huang lightly slapped out with her palm and slapped the celestial race elder's battle sword. Boom! There was a loud explosion that sounded like the Big Bang. A blinding light burst out from the place where the two of them clashed. It was so blinding that everyone couldn't open their eyes. Then, the two figures retreated at the same time. She blocked it. Fei Huang blocked the attack of the Heavenly Human Elder. It's her. Immeasurable heavenly demon. Forbidden. When Yale Yev and the others saw Fei Huang, they all exclaimed in shock and fear. Fei Huang, you're just a soul incarnation. Do you think you can stop me? The Heavenly Human Elder retreated a distance and stabilized himself. He looked at Fei Huang coldly. You're also injured. You don't dare to use your full strength, right? Fei Huang chuckled. Her aura was unparalleled. Some divine masters almost lost their minds when they saw her. It's more than enough to deal with a soul incarnation like you, the Heavenly Human Elder said. He held his sword and didn't waste any more words. He directly charged towards Fei Huang. This time, there was no shocking explosion of energy. It looked like a simple sword attack. However, it was too fast. Many divine masters couldn't see it clearly. They had a feeling that they couldn't dodge this sword attack. They could only be killed. Dense demonic chi appeared on Fei Huang's body. Her palms became pitch black as if they were formed by demonic chi. She still lightly slapped out her palm. However, her speed was extremely fast. It was so fast that all the divine masters couldn't see it clearly. Bam! Their attacks collided again. This time, there was only a soft sound. It was like an ordinary person slapping their palms. The two figures swayed and started fighting again. The crowd could only see the two figures colliding continuously. Then, there was a soft sound. Everyone knew that this was a sign that the two of them had condensed their strength to the extreme. This was because such existences were too terrifying. Once they fought without restraint, they would destroy the heavens and earth. They would destroy a large area of the galaxy and cause a terrible disaster. Therefore, they had restrained their strength to the extreme. Chapter 42-23. The battle between Fei Huang and the Elder from the Heavenly Human Tribe did not cause much of a commotion. However, The fact that they didn't cause too much of a commotion didn't mean that their attacks weren't powerful. All the divine masters present knew that if they were struck by the two of them, they would definitely die. There wouldn't be any suspense. The two of them were too fast. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. After 50 blows, the two of them retreated. They faced each other from a distance of billions of miles. "Old man, it looks like you can't do anything to us today." Fei Huang smiled. "It looks like I can only fight," the elder from the heavenly human tribe said. His eyes were cold. Boom. Another terrifying aura erupted from his body. This aura was several times more terrifying than before. Rich heavenly power surged out from the elder from the heavenly human tribe. At that moment, his stooped body actually straightened up. Furthermore, he was rapidly growing taller. The wrinkles on his face were quickly disappearing. His skin became glossy and his turbid eyes were shining with a golden light. His golden hair became dazzling and fluttered in the wind. In an instant, the elder from the heavenly human tribe became younger. He turned into a young man in his 20s. "Aren't you afraid of the backlash from your injuries?" Fei Huang's face became serious. The demonic qi on her body became denser. "It won't take much time to kill you," the elder from the heavenly human tribe said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, he moved. Swoosh! He charged toward Fei Huang at an even faster speed than before. His combat sword whistled and slashed toward Fei Huang's head with terrifying power. Fei Huang's face was serious. She took a light step forward. Suddenly, an invisible wave spread out. This was a realm. The place that it covered was Fei Huang's world. Then she waved her palms and slapped out. Clang clang. The two exchanged a few more moves, but this time, Fei Huang was completely no match for him and fell into a disadvantageous position. They had only exchanged a few more moves, and her figure retreated explosively. A hideous wound appeared on her body. However, this was Fei Huang's spiritual incarnation. It was not a life of flesh and blood. It would not bleed. However, its luster was much dimmer and its aura was weaker. Fei Huang's power was being destroyed. "Fei Huang, destroying this soul avatar must have affected your main body quite a bit, right?" The elder from the celestial tribe said coldly as he continued to attack Fei Huang. Roar! On the other side, Ao Qian roared angrily. He took out the 10,000 Dragon's Pearl and attacked the heavenly human tribe elder with all his might. Fei Huang also took the opportunity to counterattack. Both of them unleashed their strongest attacks in their respective states. "Stubborn resistance," the celestial tribe elder said coldly. The battle sword in his right hand did not stop. He continued to unleash the power of heavenly punishment and slashed at Fei Huang. As for his left hand, he pressed down on the air, and the power of heavenly punishment burst out. Streaks of pure white lightning blasted towards Ao Qian. After 2 consecutive explosions, Fei Huang and Ao Qian's figures retreated rapidly. Fei Huang was hit again, and the light of her soul incarnation dimmed even more. Ao Qian was in an even worse state. The 10,000 Dragon Pearl had been sent flying back, and his body had been pierced through. His dragon body had almost been split in two. He was seriously injured, and he kept coughing up blood. "Ha ha ha, Ao Qian, Fei Huang, go to hell." Seeing this, Yale laughed maniacally. "What taboo? In front of the patriarch, only death awaits you." Yi Fu, the Lord of Heaven, also smiled. As for the divine masters of the other races, their eyes were filled with fear. Their fear of the heavenly palace grew even stronger. The reason why they were so obedient to the heavenly palace was not because they were afraid of the Lord of Heaven. Although the heavenly palace's Lord of Heaven was powerful, it was not impossible to fight against them. The most terrifying people in the heavenly palace were those old fellows. "Fei Huang, send your soul incarnation to hell first." The heavenly human tribe elder did not want to waste any time. He was injured and could not maintain his peak state for a long time. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. He had to end this quickly and completely eliminate Fei Huang and Ao Qian. "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you," Fei Huang said lightly. Her body moved and suddenly disappeared from the spot. When she reappeared, she was already in the primordial divine lake world, standing in the air above the primordial divine lake. "Come out, Master God's heart," Fei Huang said softly. She reached out a hand and grabbed at the center of the primordial divine lake. Whoosh! A heart flew out from the primordial divine lake. This heart was the Master God's heart that God Lord Dream Void had brought out from the heavenly palace. Dong dong dong. The Master God's heart beat violently like a war drum. Boundless life energy emanated from it. Fei Huang took the Master God's heart and flew out of the world wall, appearing in the starry sky. Roar! A violent roar came from the Master God's heart. Then, it emitted a blinding red light. Within the blinding red light, a gigantic primordial divine spirit appeared. This primordial divine spirit was even larger than Hong and Lion from before. Just one of his eyes was as big as a planet. Standing in the starry sky, stars could revolve around his body. The moment this primordial divine spirit appeared, he grabbed with his hand. A huge mountain appeared and smashed directly at the heavenly human tribe elder. Everywhere it passed, the starry sky was destroyed and turned into chaos. The heavenly human tribe elder's pupils contracted rapidly. He roared angrily and slashed with his sword. Boom! Their attacks collided, creating a terrifying shockwave. Then, the heavenly human tribe elder retreated rapidly. The primordial divine spirit also retreated rapidly. This move was a draw. What's going on? A god lord from the heavenly palace exclaimed. He couldn't believe what he had seen. He couldn't understand why such a terrifying existence had suddenly appeared in the primordial divine lake. It's the Master God's heart. Fei Huang activated the power of the Master God's heart and allowed the original owner of the Master God's heart to appear in the world temporarily. Yi Fu, the Lord of Heaven, said with a serious expression. The original owner of the Master God's heart? A Master God? Many God Masters sucked in a breath of cold air. Anyone who knew about the primordial divine spirits knew that Master God was the title given to the strongest primordial divine spirit. Among the primordial divine spirits, only the strongest ones could be called Master Gods. Master Gods were extremely powerful. In the incipient God era, they were the true rulers of the universe. God Lords were like ants in front of a Master God. They could be crushed to death with one finger. Now, Fei Huang had activated the power of the Master God's heart and turned into a Master God. One could imagine how terrifying she was. It's just a heart. I don't believe it can fight against me. The heavenly human tribe elder roared. His golden hair fluttered in the wind. His aura reached its peak. With the power of heavenly punishment in his right hand and heavenly punishment in his left, he stepped forward. His body continued to grow until he was even larger than a planet. He stepped toward the Master God. Fei Huang stood on the Master God's head. Her body emitted mysterious energy waves as she maintained the Master God's form. The Master God held a mountain in his hand and charged toward the heavenly human tribe elder. The two invincible existences fought fiercely. Chapter 42-24. Fei Huang controlled the Lord God's heart and summoned the Lord God to fight with the heavenly human elder. Meanwhile, Ao Qian took the opportunity to charge toward the primordial divine lake with the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Stop him! The Yale Lord of Heaven roared and attacked with all his might. The other Divine Lord Realm experts also attacked with all their might. Dozens of terrifying attacks attacked Ao Qian in an attempt to stop him. However, Ao Qian took out the 10,000 Dragon Pearl and used the Dragon Clan's mother planet to launch a terrifying attack. The 10,000 Dragon Pearl turned into the size of a planet and attacked. The attacks of the two sides collided and exploded with a shocking explosion. Then, the Yale Lord of Heaven and the others retreated. Facing Ao Qian, who used the 10,000 Dragon Pearl and used the power of the Dragon Clan's mother planet, Yale and the others couldn't stop him even if they worked together. Many of them coughed out blood and retreated with injuries. No one could stop Ao Qian. Ao Qian brought the Dragon Clan's mother planet and approached the primordial divine lake. Rumble! The void exploded and the space was torn apart, revealing a pitch-black space. Ao Qian brought the Dragon Clan's mother planet and charged into the dark space. If one could see through space, they would be able to clearly see that the Dragon Clan's mother planet and the primordial divine lake world were very close. Activate the array and push the primordial divine lake world toward the universe ruins. Ao Qian's voice spread throughout the primordial divine lake world. The universe ruins. Yes, to the universe ruins. In the 4 cities of the primordial divine lake world, someone shouted. Swoosh! Swoosh! At this moment, the space above the primordial divine lake was torn apart and figures appeared. They were the Divine Lord Realm experts of the primordial divine lake. They could see the figures of the primordial divine spirits Hong and Shi. However, the experts of the Heavenly Palace also followed closely behind. Don't even think about leaving. Our battle isn't over yet. The damning Lord of Heaven appeared. He was unparalleled and domineering as he continued to attack Hong and Shi. At this moment, a dragon roar sounded. Ao Qian took out the 10,000 Dragon Pearl and attacked the damning Lord of Heaven. Wherever the 10,000 Dragon's Pearl passed, the Great Dream Lord of Heaven's Great Dream Force instantly collapsed. The Great Dream Lord of Heaven's expression fell, and he used all of his strength to block, but he was still sent flying by the 10,000 Dragon Pearl, and he coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Big Dream Lord of Heaven was known as one of the strongest Lords of Heaven in the Heavenly Palace. He was already standing at the peak of the Divine Lord realm. However, after Ao Qian had used the 10,000 Dragon Pearl and borrowed the power of the Dragon Clan's mother planet, Ao Qian's strength had already surpassed that of a God Master. No matter how strong the Great Dream Lord of Heaven was, he was no match for Ao Qian. I'll stop them. You guys work together to push the primeval divine lake towards the ruins of the universe. There will be people there to receive you. Ao Qian said. Attack. The Divine Lord realm experts of the primordial divine lake didn't hesitate to enter the 4 cities. Then, they activated their own power and coordinated with the array to push the primordial divine lake world through the dark void and towards the universe ruins. They had to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if more experts from the Heavenly Palace were to come. The Dragon Clan's mother planet followed closely behind the primordial divine lake world. Stop them. Don't let them succeed. The Great Dream Lord of Heaven and the others shouted angrily. Altogether, there were 70 to 80 Divine Lord realm experts rushing towards the primordial divine lake world. They wanted to completely destroy the primordial divine lake world. Roar! Ao Qian attacked. The 10,000 Dragon Pearl shone brightly. Hundreds of dragon shadows rushed out from the 10,000 Dragon Pearl. Although these dragon shadows weren't real divine dragons, they were very powerful. They kept fighting with the divine lords of the Heavenly Palace. In an instant, they managed to hold back so many divine lords. Of course, this was because Ao Qian's strength hadn't truly reached the realm above the Divine Lord realm. He was only slightly above the Divine Lord realm. Otherwise, even if there were 70 to 80 divine lords from the Heavenly Palace, they wouldn't be able to defeat him. Ao Qian's strength was far from his peak. However, it was enough to hold back the experts from the Heavenly Palace. The experts from the primordial divine lake didn't have to worry about the situation outside. They pushed the primordial divine lake world with all their might. The primordial divine lake world and the Dragon Clan's mother planet traveled through the dark void. They flew towards the edge of the universe at an astonishing speed. They flew towards the ruins of the universe. Fei Huang controlled the Lord God's heart and continued to fight with the heavenly human elder. As time passed, the two of them had exchanged countless blows. Suddenly, the two of them stopped fighting and stood in the starry sky. They weren't far from the primordial divine lake world. The primordial divine lake world flew towards the ruins of the universe at an astonishing speed. However, when Fei Huang and the heavenly human elder were fighting, they intentionally followed the primordial divine lake world. Therefore, the distance between them didn't widen. Fei Huang, even the power of the Lord God's heart can't withstand such exhaustion. You can't hold on for much longer, right? The heavenly human elder said. You don't have to test me. The one who can't hold on is you. If you continue to fight, your injuries will be uncontrollable. By then, only death will await you. Fei Huang chuckled. Her face was calm. However, the heavenly human elder's face darkened. Fei Huang was right. He was indeed seriously injured. Not only could he not use his full strength, but even if he could, he wouldn't be able to fight for too long. Otherwise, his injuries would be uncontrollable. After a moment of silence, the heavenly human elder made a decision. All of you come back. There's no need to continue attacking. The heavenly human elder spoke. Of course, he was talking to the powerhouses of the Heavenly Palace. Hearing the heavenly human elder's words, the powerhouses of the Heavenly Palace didn't dare to disobey. Their bodies swayed and they left the primordial divine lake world. They stopped fighting with Ao Qian and appeared behind the heavenly human elder. Ancestor, why aren't we continuing to attack? Big Dream Lord of Heaven asked. She was very unwilling to give up. We're almost at the ruins of the universe. When we get there, we won't be able to do anything to them. I think Fei Huang's true body might be there, the heavenly human elder said. As soon as he said that, the expressions of the powerhouses of the heavenly palace changed drastically. Fei Huang's true body made them terrified. Fei Huang was only a soul incarnation, but she could already kill them. How terrifying would her true body be? In the battle back then, some people had witnessed Fei Huang's true combat strength. It was extremely terrifying. Countless powerhouses of the heavenly palace had died in Fei Huang's hands. Even more than one invincible existence above the Almighty had died in Fei Huang's hands. This was a true taboo. If Fei Huang's true body was really in the ruins of the universe, they wouldn't be able to withstand a single slap from Fei Huang. But Ancestor, that Mu Yun, who has the forbidden body, sneaked into the heavenly palace and stole the opportunity of our heavenly palace. Now, he has slipped away safely. If this news spreads, it will be a great blow to the prestige of our heavenly palace. Big Dream Lord of Heaven said. Although the other Lord of Heaven didn't say anything, it was obvious from their expressions that they had the same concerns. Mu Yun, a junior, first sneaked into the heavenly palace, then betrayed the heavenly palace and left safely. What did he think the heavenly palace was? A backyard? This kind of thing couldn't happen. Chapter 42-25. They could let Primordial Divine Lake World go, but not Mu Yun. If word got out, it would be a great blow to the heavenly palace's prestige. Besides, Mu Yun had a forbidden body. This was even more important than the entire Primordial Divine Lake World. He couldn't be allowed to develop a forbidden body. Throughout history, any forbidden body that matured was a disaster for the heavenly palace. The Lord of the Primordial Divine Court, the immeasurable heavenly demon Flying Phoenix, and that Tangai. Each of them caused great damage to the heavenly palace. Therefore, they couldn't let Mu Yun go. Don't worry. Since he has entered the heavenly palace and put on the heavenly soldier armor, he can't get away. The heavenly human elder sneered, as if he had the pearl of wisdom in his hands. But Ancestral Patriarch, the forbidden power in the heavenly soldier armor was destroyed by the forbidden power. Damning Lord of Heaven said, "It doesn't matter. As long as he stays in the heavenly soldier armor, he can't escape from me. Just watch." The heavenly human elder said. As soon as he finished speaking, he reached out a hand and grabbed at the Primordial Divine Lake World. At this moment, in the Primordial Divine Lake World, Lu Ming still hadn't calmed down. Everything that had happened today was too shocking. It was rare to see divine masters, but today, more than 100 of them had appeared. This was really shocking. In addition, people who seemed to have surpassed the divine master level had also appeared and displayed the power of the universe. This was an eye-opener for Lu Ming. It also showed Lu Ming the tip of the iceberg of the heavenly palace's power. It could be said that today's battle had a great impact on Lu Ming. It showed him the peak power of the primitive universe, and it also motivated him and gave him more goals. I'm still far from the divine master level. My first goal is to break through the divine emperor level. Then step by step, I'll reach the divine master level. I'll reach the divine master level sooner or later. It's not that far away. Lu Ming clenched his fists, full of motivation. Generally speaking, the godly master realm was the pinnacle of combat power in the universe. In the universe, most people thought that the divine master was the limit of the divine state. They didn't know that there was a realm above the divine master. If Lu Ming hadn't seen the great battle between Fei Huang and the heavenly human tribe elder today, he wouldn't have known that there was an even more terrifying existence above the divine master. Right, what kind of place is the universe ruins? Another question popped up in Lu Ming's mind. He had naturally heard Ao Qian's roar earlier. However, this was the first time he had heard the term cosmic ruins. Just as Lu Ming's imagination was running wild, a sudden change occurred. A suit of battle armor suddenly flew out of one of his rings of holding. It was the heavenly soldier battle armor. What happened? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He had no intention of taking out the celestial soldier armor, so why did it fly out on its own? Not good. Lu Ming, retreat. In his sea of consciousness, Bone Devil roared in shock. Lu Ming instinctively wanted to retreat, but it was too late. The celestial soldier armor charged directly at Lu Ming and covered Lu Ming's body like chains, locking Lu Ming in place. Open up! Lu Ming roared and unleashed all of his forbidden power, trying to break free. However, he couldn't move at all. The celestial soldier armor didn't move at all. It was firm and immortal, and he couldn't break free at all. At the same time, the celestial soldier armor produced an irresistible force and flew Lu Ming toward the gap in the world wall at an astonishing speed. Stay. Fei Huang's expression changed. She reached out her palm and a huge palm grabbed at Lu Ming, trying to stop Lu Ming. Fei Huang, if you attack, I'll kill him directly. The voice of the heavenly human tribe elder rang out. In the next moment, a terrifying energy emerged from the celestial soldier armor and pressed down on Lu Ming from the outside. In an instant, Lu Ming felt as if his body was about to explode from the pressure. Blood seeped out from the surface of his skin. Fei Huang's outstretched palm was forcefully pulled back. Her face was gloomy, but she knew very well that if she attacked forcefully, she could stop Lu Ming. However, before she could stop Lu Ming, the other party could kill Lu Ming first. Now, Lu Ming's life was completely under the control of the heavenly human tribe elder. With this pause, Lu Ming had already flown out of the primeval divine lake world's world wall and into the starry sky. He flew toward the heavenly human tribe elder at an astonishing speed. Bone Devil, take my storage ring and little ball. Hurry up and leave. Lu Ming roared. At the same time, his glabella shone and Bone Devil's body flew out. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Rays of light shot out from Lu Ming's glabella. The mysterious ice rod, the gale pearl, and the storage ring all flew toward Bone Devil. Even if he was captured by the Heavenly Palace, he would not let the Heavenly Palace take advantage of him. The Heavenly Palace could forget about getting the treasures on him. Anyway, he still had his past body. Even if he died in the hands of the Heavenly Palace, these treasures could still be handed over to his past body. His past body and present body were one. As long as his past body was still there, he would be fine. In the future, if he continued to cultivate the art of severing 3 corpses, he could still sever his present and future. His body was being controlled, but Bone Devil and Xueqi were not. Bone Devil kept Lu Ming's storage ring and treasures, and Little Ball flew out. Xueqi stared at Lu Ming, reluctant to part with him. Hurry up and leave. Let's go. Lu Ming roared. Another ray of light flew out from his glabella. That was the Origin Ancient Character Battle, which was also kept by Bone Devil. However, to Lu Ming's surprise, there were 2 other things that Lu Ming could not fly out no matter how hard he tried. They were the purple copper coffin and the archaic heavenly stone. These 2 things shrunk rapidly in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. In the end, they became smaller than the tiniest particles. He could not even detect them with his spiritual senses, let alone with the naked eye. If they were not in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness and Lu Ming was connected to these 2 treasures, he would not be able to detect them. If you want to leave, stay. The heavenly human elder said coldly. He had already seen the Origin Ancient Character Battle. Although reaching his level, the Origin Ancient Characters were no longer of much use to him. However, it could be used to nurture the younger generation. The Origin Ancient Character was still very useful. He could not let it slip away from Lu Ming's hands. He reached out a big hand and grabbed at Lu Ming. Hurry up and leave. Lu Ming roared. Go. Guo roared angrily and brought Xueqi to the primordial divine lake world. However, with Bone Devil's strength, how could he escape from the hands of the heavenly human tribe? However, at that moment, an enormous mountain descended from the sky and smashed onto the heavenly human clan's old man's hand. That mountain directly knocked the old man's hand back. It was Fei Huang. She controlled the Master God's heart to attack. After pushing back the heavenly human tribe elder, Fei Huang reached out and grabbed Bone Devil. Interesting. Fei Huang glanced at Bone Devil and muttered, "There are no advertisements on the website." Chapter 42-26. At the same time, Lu Ming had already flown to the heavenly human elder and was under his control. Let's go. The heavenly human elder glanced at Fei Huang coldly. Then, he took Lu Ming and took a step forward, disappearing from the spot. The other divine lords of the celestial palace, as well as the celestial soldiers and divine generals, flew into the air and disappeared. Fei Huang didn't chase after them. She knew that Lu Ming had fallen into the heavenly human elder's hands. It was impossible for her to take him back unscathed, unless her true body attacked. But it was impossible now. What a pity! The primordial divine spirits of the primordial divine lake, the divine lords, and divine Lord Meng Su all sighed. They all knew that Lu Ming had a taboo body. A taboo body was supposed to have a bright future. Once it matured, It would be a great enemy of the Heavenly Palace. But now, it had been taken by the Heavenly Palace. A taboo body that had been taken by the Heavenly Palace was most likely doomed. Kid, I hope you'll be blessed. I can't see your fate. Just like that Tang guy, I believe you'll be able to turn misfortune into fortune. Fei Huang whispered as she looked in the direction the Heavenly Palace left. Then she waved her hand, and the Divine Lord's body disappeared. The Divine Lord's heart floated in the air again, held in Fei Huang's hand. Fei Huang entered the primordial divine lake. Let's go. Let's go to the universe ruins, Fei Huang said. Immediately, a few Divine Lord elites began to repair the gap in the world barrier. The others continued to push the primordial divine lake toward the universe ruins. In a huge secret chamber in the dreamy heavenly palace, the walls and floor of the secret chamber were covered with runes. In the middle of the secret chamber was a stone platform. The runes on the stone platform were the most concentrated. It was clearly the center of the formation. At this moment, Lu Ming was sitting cross-legged on the stone platform. His body was covered with runes. He was completely under control. On the side, the heavenly human tribe elder, the great dream Lord of Heaven, and a few other Lord of Heaven looked at Lu Ming. Let's begin. Let's attack together and extract the taboo energy from him, the heavenly human race elder said. Yes, great dream, Lord of Heaven, and the others replied. Then they stood around Lu Ming, and the power of the heavens emanated from their bodies. Wang. The array formation in the secret chamber was activated and emitted a dazzling light. Lu Ming was enveloped by the light. Attack! The elder of the heavenly human tribe let out a soft cry as he quickly formed a series of hand seals. A mysterious force fell on Lu Ming's body. At the same time, several other powerful beings at the level of the Lord of Heaven also made their moves. Together with the heavenly human tribe elder, the power exerted on Lu Ming's body became even stronger. Lu Ming's body suddenly trembled violently. His bones were trembling and his muscles were wriggling. All the cells in his body seemed to be about to fly out. The elder of the heavenly human tribe and the others wanted to extract the taboo energy from his body. Don't even think about it. Lu Ming roared in his heart. He used all his strength to control the taboo energy and resist with all his might. Kid, how dare you resist? You're courting death. One of the Lord of Heaven shouted angrily, causing Lu Ming's eardrums to explode. If you want to kill me, then kill me. There's no need to talk so much. Lu Ming replied coldly. Kid, you, that Lord of Heaven glared at him angrily. There's no need to talk nonsense with him. Focus on extracting the taboo energy. The elder of the heavenly human tribe said. He increased his strength and used all his strength to extract the taboo energy from Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body trembled even more violently. His cells were trembling, and the taboo energy in every cell was also trembling. It was as if a powerful force was pulling it out. However, Lu Ming resisted with all his strength. He focused all his strength to stabilize the taboo energy. He knew very well that his greatest value was the taboo energy. With the taboo energy, he might still be able to survive. However, once the taboo energy was extracted, he would lose his value. Then, only death would await him. No matter what, he would not let the other party extract the taboo energy. Under this tug, his body was under a great burden. His skin cracked and blood kept flowing out. His muscles were also torn apart, and his bones crackled with explosive sounds. Fine cracks appeared all over his body. Every part of his body felt like it was being cut by a knife. No, it was 100 times or 1,000 times more intense than that. However, Lu Ming withstood it. This bit of pain was nothing. He ignored the injuries on his body and tried his best to control the taboo energy to prevent the other party from extracting it. As time passed, the injuries on his body became more and more serious. Soon, he was covered in blood. There was not a single spot on his body that was unharmed. After a while, his body was on the verge of collapse. If this continued, he would definitely die. Stop. At this moment, the elder of the heavenly human tribe shouted softly and stopped first. After that, the other Lord of Heaven also stopped. This kid. The elder of the heavenly human tribe's eyes flickered with a cold light. He did not expect that Lu Ming's willpower would be so strong at such a young age. Under such great pain, he could still stabilize the taboo energy. The taboo energy was not an ordinary energy. If it was an ordinary energy, Any divine master would be able to extract it from Lu Ming's body without him doing anything. However, the taboo energy was extraordinary. The taboo energy had already fused with every cell in Lu Ming's body. It was very difficult to extract it. If they wanted to extract it, they would have to seep it into the 60 trillion cells in Lu Ming's body. It was too difficult. Even with the cultivation of the elder of the heavenly human tribe, he needed to cooperate with a special formation and the help of the other Lord of Heaven to be able to take action. However, it was not that easy. There was a prerequisite. Lu Ming's resistance must not be too strong. If Lu Ming's resistance was too strong, it would be difficult to succeed. Just like just now, if Lu Ming resisted with all his strength, it would be difficult for them to succeed. If this continued, Lu Ming's body would collapse and he would die. The taboo energy was very special. If Lu Ming died, the taboo energy would also dissipate. This was also the reason why they did not kill Lu Ming. It was also the reason why they suddenly stopped. If they killed Lu Ming, they would not be able to get the taboo energy. They had a special use for the taboo energy. Kid, you'd better cooperate. You'll suffer less pain. Otherwise, you'll suffer a fate worse than death. You've tasted the pain just now. If you cooperate, it will end sooner. The elder of the heavenly human tribe said coldly, "Cut the crap. If you want to fight, then continue." Lu Ming replied coldly. Under the effect of the taboo energy, his injuries were recovering at an astonishing speed. As he spoke, the wounds on the surface of his body were about to disappear. "Stubborn. Let's see how long you can last." The elder of the heavenly human tribe said coldly, his eyes flashing with killing intent. A junior dared to talk to him like this. If it were not for the taboo energy in Lu Ming's body, he would have slapped Lu Ming to death. Chapter 42-27. After a while, when Lu Ming's injuries were almost healed, the old man from the heavenly human tribe and the others began to move again. They activated the formation to extract the forbidden power from Lu Ming's body. However, Lu Ming resisted with all his might. No matter what, he would not let them extract the forbidden power. Both sides were in a stalemate. Not long after, Lu Ming's body was on the verge of collapse. His body was tattered and he was in great pain. However, Lu Ming had experienced all kinds of pain along the way. This pain was nothing. Lu Ming did not even make a sound. The old man from the heavenly human tribe and the others had no choice but to stop. This was because if they continued, Lu Ming's body would completely collapse and he would die on the spot. The forbidden power would also disappear. After Lu Ming's injuries were healed, they continued to attack him. This went on for several times. It was a pity that Lu Ming withstood it every time. This made the old man from the heavenly human tribe and the others' faces become extremely gloomy. They did not expect that Lu Ming's willpower would be so strong at such a young age. An ordinary person would not be able to withstand such continuous pain. "This kid. Old ancestor, what should we do now?" One of the Lord of Heaven said. Facing such a Lu Ming, even the Lord of Heaven who had lived for countless years was furious. He could not kill him, but he could not let him go either. He was too difficult to deal with. Put him in the 1,000 flames furnace. Let's see how long he can last. The old man from the heavenly human tribe said coldly. "All right, old ancestor is wise." The other Lord of Heaven revealed a look of joy. Then they looked at Lu Ming coldly. "Brat, it is best that you quickly yield and cooperate with us to extract the taboo energy. That way you will be able to suffer less. Otherwise, you will have to suffer in the 10,000 flame furnace. The pain of being burned by 10,000 flames will be 10 times or even 100 times worse than before." One of the Lord of Heaven said coldly. "Do as you wish. You want me to cooperate with you to extract the forbidden power?" "Impossible," Lu Ming said indifferently. "You're courting death." The Lord of Heaven was so angry that he glared. "There's no need to talk nonsense with him. Let's enter the 10,000 flames furnace." The heavenly human tribe elder waved his hand, grabbed Lu Ming, and left this place. Not long after, they came to another secret room. There was a huge furnace here. Standing outside, they could feel the terrifying temperature inside the furnace. With a loud bang, the heavenly human tribe elder tossed Lu Ming into the 10,000 flames furnace. The flames of the 10,000 flames furnace will not burn a person to death. It will only burn slowly. However, The pain it brings is 10 times or even 100 times that of ordinary flames. Let's see how long this kid can last. The heavenly human elder said coldly. Old ancestor is wise. Using the 10,000 flames furnace to refine this brat, his mind will quickly collapse. At that time, he will naturally obediently beg for mercy, and we can easily extract the taboo energy. One of the Lord of Heaven bowed and said. His flattery was obvious. That's right. The 10,000 flames furnace is no small matter. In history, not many people have been able to last for more than 7 days. I guess this brat will be able to last for 3 days at most. Another Lord of Heaven said. Well, from the previous situation, this brat's mind is very tenacious and his willpower is very strong. I think 3 days is more than enough, but at most 5 days. The heavenly human tribe elder made a judgment. Old ancestor is wise. The Lord of Heaven flattered him again. They quietly waited for Lu Ming to surrender. Time passed day by day. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Soon, 4 days had passed and it was close to 5 days. However, there was still no movement in the 10,000 flames furnace. There was also no sound of Lu Ming begging for mercy. The faces of the heavenly human tribe elder and the others were a little ugly. The heavenly human tribe elder was confident that Lu Ming would be able to last for 5 days at most before begging for mercy. However, it was close to 5 days now and Lu Ming still hadn't begged for mercy. This made him a little embarrassed. If they didn't know very well that the 10,000 flames furnace wouldn't burn Lu Ming to death, they would have thought that Lu Ming had died in it. They continued to wait. Soon 5 days passed, then 6 days, 7 days. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. They had previously said that very few people could last for more than 7 days in the 10,000 flames furnace. But now, Lu Ming had surpassed. This made their faces even uglier. Lu Ming's willpower was beyond their imagination. The heavenly human tribe elder's face was even more embarrassed. Let's see how long this brat can last. One of the Lord of Heaven gritted his teeth and said. They continued to wait. 8 days, 9 days, 10 days. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had stayed in the 10,000 flames furnace for a whole month. Yes, Lu Ming hadn't said a word for a whole month. Brat, are you going to give in or not? Even with the wisdom of the heavenly human tribe elder, he couldn't help but take the initiative to ask. What do you mean by giving in? It's very comfortable and warm inside. Don't let me out. I still want to stay a little longer. Lu Ming's disdainful voice sounded from the 10,000 flames furnace. Crack. The heavenly human tribe elder and the others clenched their fists so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. They almost went berserk. Infuriating. It was really too infuriating. It's very comfortable to stay in the 10,000 flames furnace? Do you think we're uneducated and want to lie to us? This brat, the heavenly human tribe elder and the others were furious. They felt that Lu Ming was like a hedgehog that they couldn't bite. Ancestor, what should we do now? One of the Lord of Heaven asked. This brat's willpower is more tenacious than I expected. The 10,000 flames furnace is probably useless. How about this? We'll throw him into the heavenly prison. The heavenly prison is filled with terrifying inner demon fire. In the heavenly prison, he will be tortured by the inner demon fire at all times. Anyway, we're not in a hurry. Let's see how long he can last in a few stellar years. The heavenly human tribe elder said coldly. That's the only way. Then let this brat stay in the heavenly prison. Ancestor, go back and rest. Leave the rest to us. One of the Lord of Heaven said. Okay. The heavenly human tribe elder nodded and stepped out of the secret chamber. Several Lord of Heaven pulled Lu Ming out of the 10,000 flames furnace. Brat, you'll suffer less if you give in early. You have to understand that in the heavenly palace, it's useless no matter how hard you try. We have plenty of ways to make you give in. If you insist, you'll only suffer more. One of the Lord of Heaven said. Oh, is that so? I'll wait. Lu Ming replied indifferently. No matter what, he would not let them take away the forbidden power. Humph. Several Lord of Heaven snorted coldly and brought Lu Ming out of the secret chamber. After a while, they arrived at another place. There was a huge whirlpool there. It was dark and kept spinning. No one knew where it led to. Brat, this is the heavenly prison of the heavenly palace. It's filled with inner demon fire at all times. You'll be tortured in there. You can last for a month or two, but can you last for a year or two? 10,000 years, a million years, or even 10 million years. One of the Lord of Heaven said coldly. He wanted to scare Lu Ming, hoping to destroy Lu Ming's mind as soon as possible. Chapter 42:28. However, Lu Ming's expression remained calm. In addition, it is a place where the heavenly palace imprisons criminals. These criminals are all extremely vicious and evil. Moreover, they have been tormented by the heart flame demon fire for many years in the heavenly prison. They have long gone mad. You will face danger at all times in there. You had better consider carefully to avoid unnecessary torture. Another Lord of Heaven added. So much nonsense. I didn't know that the Heavenly Palace Lord of Heaven has so much nonsense to say. You're so wishy-washy and not straightforward at all. Lu Ming mocked. This kid. Several Lord of Heaven gritted their teeth in anger. In the primitive universe, who dared to talk to them like this? If it weren't for the fact that they couldn't kill Lu Ming, they would have ground Lu Ming's bones into ashes. Kid, take this jade talisman. If you've thought it through, you can send us a message. We'll bring you out. One Lord of Heaven said. A jade talisman flew into Lu Ming's body and disappeared. Their main purpose was to destroy Lu Ming's psychological defense and wear down Lu Ming's willpower so that Lu Ming would cooperate with them and let them extract the forbidden power. They didn't want Lu Ming to die in the heavenly prison. That was why they sent Lu Ming a message jade talisman. As long as Lu Ming sent them a message, it meant that Lu Ming had given in. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He didn't say anything. Send him in, one Lord of Heaven said. Then he waved his hand. Lu Ming's body flew into the whirlpool and disappeared into it. As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the whirlpool, he seemed to be following a passage. Not long after, he left the passage and crashed into the ground. Lu Ming hurriedly channeled the forbidden power to slow down his speed and landed gently on the ground. Then, he raised his eyes and looked around. He realized that he was in a desolate mountain. In the mountain, there was a type of black tree that was twisted like a snake. It looked very terrifying. The sky was dark and gloomy. There was no sun or moon in the sky. The entire sky looked dark red. Is this the heart flame devil fire? Lu Ming sensed carefully and found that there was a kind of flame constantly spreading out from the ground. This kind of flame was everywhere in this world. As long as one was in this world, they would be contaminated. This kind of flame enveloped Lu Ming and climbed up Lu Ming's body, constantly burning. The flames were not fierce, but when they burned, there was a kind of heart-wrenching pain. This kind of pain was very easy for Lu Ming to bear. However, it was hard to say if he was locked up here forever. He could endure it for a short period of time, but that didn't mean he could endure it for a long time. This was the heavenly prison. Some people were locked up here for millions of years, tens of millions of years, or even many stellar years. After so many years, no matter how tough a person's mind was, they would not be able to bear it. Lu Ming understood that the heavenly palace wanted to lock him up here. As long as he did not give in, they would keep him here until he gave in. This kind of pain is nothing. Lu Ming sneered. With a thought, every cell in his body trembled slightly. A powerful forbidden power covered his entire body, blocking the flames outside. The pain on Lu Ming's body disappeared instantly. Blocked? So easy? Lu Ming was puzzled. This was too easy, beyond his expectations. Logically speaking, the Lord of Heaven and the others in the heavenly palace should know that he controlled the forbidden power. They should also know the mysteries of the forbidden power. Whether it could block the flames here, they should also know very well. If the forbidden power could block it, why did they send Lu Ming here? Lu Ming frowned. For a moment, he could not figure it out. He felt that there must be something he did not understand. After a while, Lu Ming shook his head. Since he could not figure it out, he would not think about it for the time being. Lu Ming began to look around. He spread out his spiritual sense, but his aura was restrained. According to the Lord of Heaven, this was the heavenly palace's heavenly prison. It was a place to imprison serious criminals. There must be a lot of serious criminals. These people had been locked up here for who knew how long and were tortured at all times. They would probably go crazy. He had to be careful. However, Lu Ming looked around and found no one. There's no one around. Could it be that the area I'm in is relatively remote? Well, I can cultivate and improve my strength. Lu Ming thought. In this kind of environment, the stronger one was, the more power they had to protect themselves. Unfortunately, he had given all his treasures to the bone demon. He did not bring them with him. His strength was greatly affected. For example, the Gale Bead, the Ice Mystic Rod, and even the ancient origin character Battle were given to the bone demon. Without the word battle, his battle strength could not burst out to fight across level 9. He was still a little short. Anyway, I can resist this kind of flame. I'll cultivate here for a while. I still have a lot of ordinary secret techniques that I haven't cultivated. I'll first turn these ordinary secret techniques into secret technique runes and integrate them into my cells to enhance my strength. Lu Ming made up his mind. He still had at least 15,000 types of ordinary secret skills that he had yet to cultivate. He planned to raise his strength to the point where he could fight across level 9. Even if he did not use the battle formula, he would still need to reach the point where he could fight across level 9. Anyway, he did not know how long he would be locked up. He could just cultivate slowly. Immediately, Lu Ming found a relatively hidden cave and entered it. Then, he punched out and destroyed the surroundings of the cave, blocking the entrance. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the cave and began to comprehend an ordinary secret technique. When Lu Ming began to comprehend the ordinary secret technique, a spot in his sea of consciousness glowed. Then, the primordial god stone reappeared. The primordial god stone emitted a mysterious light that could speed up Lu Ming's comprehension of the secret technique. The primordial god stone has reappeared. What about the purple copper coffin? Lu Ming was surprised. Then he carefully sensed it. The next moment, another wave of fluctuation appeared in his sea of consciousness. The purple copper coffin reappeared. Lu Ming's face lit up with joy. Previously, when the experts from the Heavenly Palace captured him, they naturally searched him from head to toe, including his sea of consciousness. However, at that time, the primordial god stone and the purple copper coffin were hidden to the extreme. They actually escaped the detection of the elder from the heavenly human tribe. The elder from the heavenly human tribe was an existence that surpassed the divine master realm. Even he could not detect them. This showed how mysterious the primordial god stone and the purple copper coffin were. At this time, Lu Ming sensed them on his own. They reappeared. This made Lu Ming more or less confident. At least the purple copper coffin was still there. At the critical moment, he could still use it to fight for his life. Previously, in the primitive divine lake world, Lu Ming was completely controlled by the heavenly soldier armor. He could not move at all. He could not even take out the purple copper coffin. Now, if the Lord of Heaven comes again, I will take out the purple copper coffin and fight for my life, Lu Ming muttered. Then, he continued to comprehend the secret technique. Chapter 42-29. With Lu Ming's current realm, the speed of comprehending ordinary secret techniques was very fast. With the help of the ancient secret techniques, the speed was even more astonishing. Even without the help of the primordial divine sound, the speed was very fast. In almost less than an hour, Lu Ming could successfully comprehend an ordinary secret technique, turn it into a secret technique rune, and integrate it into his cells. In one day, Lu Ming could successfully comprehend more than 20 secret techniques. Of course, they were only at the entry level. He did not need to cultivate to a high realm first. He only needed to enter the entry level. In 1 year, he could comprehend more than 7,000 secret techniques. In just a little more than 2 years, Lu Ming had successfully comprehended all the secret techniques in his hands, turned them into secret technique runes, and integrated them into his cells. After integrating so many secret technique runes at once, the power of the taboo power was further enhanced. Lu Ming felt that he was full of powerful energy. His battle strength had undoubtedly increased by another level. Lu Ming estimated that even if he did not use the ancient character battle now, he would probably reach the ability to fight across 9 levels. Even if he was still a little short, it would not be by much. Lu Ming estimated that after comprehending 1 or 2,000 ordinary secret techniques to great accomplishment, his battle strength would completely reach the ability to fight across 9 levels even without the battled secret technique. Then, he would continue to comprehend and cultivate until he could not improve anymore. Time passed quickly. Year after year passed by. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had cultivated here for 30 years. In 30 years, Lu Ming had cultivated another 2,000 types of ordinary secret skills to the phenomenal success stage. In this way, his battle strength had completely reached the level where he could fight across 9 levels. If he continued to cultivate, His battle strength would not improve anymore. 9 levels was the limit. However, recently, Lu Ming discovered an important problem. His heart was becoming more and more restless, and he was becoming more and more impatient. Sometimes, he would inexplicably want to get angry, and he felt that it was becoming more and more difficult to remain calm. In this way, the speed of comprehending secret techniques became slower and slower, and the effect was getting worse and worse. What's going on? Lu Ming frowned and pondered. At his current level, if he wanted to achieve mental tranquility, it would only take an instant. In the past, he could instantly enter a state of tranquility and emptiness, which was the same as entering a state of cultivation. But now, it was getting harder and harder to do so. She was easily irritated and wanted to vent her anger for no reason. She even wanted to find someone to vent her anger on. Heart flame devil fire. Could it be that this kind of flame targets not only the physical body, but also the mind and soul? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Thinking of this point, he felt that it was very possible. His physical body could resist the attack with a taboo power. As for his soul, it was scattered in every cell. He could also use the forbidden power to resist it, but he had his own thoughts and thoughts. As long as one had thoughts and thoughts, they would be affected. That should be the case. That's why the people of the Heavenly Palace let me in despite knowing that I have the forbidden power and can block it. That's because other than the physical body, the spirit will also be attacked and affected. Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. One could imagine that this was only the beginning. The further he progressed, the greater the impact would be. Could it be that I can't get out of the Heavenly Palace's prison? Lu Ming raised his head and looked at the sky. He came down from the sky, but there was no exit in the sky. If I want to get out, I can't just stay here. I need to find an opportunity to get out. Lu Ming thought to himself. Although he knew that this was the Heavenly Palace's prison and the chances of him getting out were very slim, he still had to try. He ended his cultivation and left the cave. He randomly chose a direction and flew in that direction. The Heavenly Palace's prison was like a huge world. Lu Ming flew high in the sky and looked into the distance. He couldn't see the end of it at all. He could only see the vast and boundless land. This world was the same everywhere. On the ground, the heart flame devil fire was constantly spreading out. The entire world was shrouded in high temperature. No living creatures could be seen. Only some strange dark trees could be seen. This was a real prison. Half an hour later, Lu Ming, who was flying, suddenly stopped. Because he suddenly felt a sense of danger. His body couldn't help but tense up. The danger came from underground. Without hesitation, Lu Ming's figure suddenly rose and then moved back horizontally. Boom! The ground exploded. A figure rushed toward Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. Before the person arrived, the sky was filled with the sound of breaking wings. It was a claw light that tore through the void and grabbed at Lu Ming. The speed was amazing. The power was also amazing. Fortunately, Lu Ming reacted quickly and dodged in time. That was how he managed to avoid the attack. Lu Ming retreated a few hundred miles. His eyes flashed like lightning. He finally saw the appearance of the person who attacked him. It was a short man. He was short, less than 1.5 meters. His back was hunched. However, his hands were covered with sharp nails. They were like extremely sharp blades. His eyes were blood red. He stared at Lu Ming. Blood, blood, I want to drink blood. The short man roared like a wild beast. He licked his lips and his skinny body flickered. He moved like lightning towards Lu Ming. His speed was astonishing. As soon as he arrived, Lu Ming sensed a terrifying strength moving towards him. His skin felt like it was being cut. Fourth Great Supreme God Layer. Lu Ming's heart stirred, revealing a grave expression. That short man had the strength of the Fourth Great Supreme God Layer. Even if he only had the strength of the Fourth Great Supreme God Layer, Lu Ming couldn't compete with him. Even though Lu Ming had recovered his strength, he still had the strength of the Ninth Godly Emperor Layer. It would be very difficult for him to fight against an ordinary cultivator of the Third Great Supreme God Layer. If he had the mysterious ice rod, he would be able to fight against an ordinary cultivator of the Fourth Great Supreme God Layer. Unfortunately, he didn't have any weapons. He could only rely on himself. He couldn't compete with that short man. If he fought him head-on, he would be killed in a flash. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming retreated rapidly. Blood, I want to drink blood, stay here. The short man roared and chased after Lu Ming in a frenzy. He clawed continuously and his sharp claw gleams cut through the space, grabbing at Lu Ming. His speed was astonishing, faster than Lu Ming's retreating speed. Great Aurora Technique. Lu Ming used the Great Aurora Technique. His body turned into a beam of light. In the blink of an eye, he was already a few thousand li away, dodging the attack. Master, we don't have any enmity between us. Why are you attacking me? Shouted Lu Ming. Dang! But the short man didn't give up. He continued moving towards Lu Ming. His claws filled the sky, covering hundreds of li. Chapter 42:30. The short man's eyes were bloodshot and filled with bloodthirsty killing intent. He charged madly at Lu Ming. Claw lights tore through the air and enveloped a large area. Greater teleportation art. With a thought, Lu Ming executed the greater teleportation art. His figure appeared in the distance, dodging the claw attacks. Then, he quickly flew in a certain direction. Since he was no match for the short man, it was naturally best to escape. However, the short man did not give up. He chased after Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Even if Lu Ming had the greater teleportation art and the greater aurora art, he could not shake off the short man. The main reason was that his cultivation was too weak. The two of them, one chasing the other, flew several million li in the blink of an eye. The short man kept attacking as he chased. Although Lu Ming dodged most of the attacks, there was one claw light that he did not manage to dodge. Fortunately, Lu Ming fully operated the greater defensive art and blocked the claw light. He only suffered some light injuries. I have to shake this guy off as soon as possible. This guy's condition is a little abnormal. Lu Ming's mind kept flashing. The short man's mental state was clearly abnormal. He was filled with bloodthirsty intent. Lu Ming guessed that the short man was affected by the heart flame. The heart flame and devil flame burned the body, while the heart flame affected the soul, spirit, and so on. Lu Ming had only stayed here for a few decades and his mind was already affected. The short man had stayed here for who knew how many years. The negative emotions in his heart would erupt crazily. There was no way to reason with this kind of person. He could only stay away. Boom, boom. Suddenly, Lu Ming, who was flying, narrowed his eyes. There was a violent roar in front of him. There were violent vibrations in the air and on the ground. Waves of powerful force swept in all directions like sea waves. Kill, kill, kill. Roars filled with madness and hysteria could be heard coming from the front. Then, Lu Ming saw a figure floating in the air, constantly attacking. Yes, there was only one figure. It was an old man with disheveled hair and shocking killing intent. His eyes were filled with madness and nothing else. He was constantly attacking. His attacks had no target, and they blasted large pits in the ground. Lunatic. This is a lunatic. Lu Ming instantly came to a conclusion. He was a complete lunatic, even crazier than the short man. Although the short man was crazy and his eyes were filled with bloodlust, if one looked carefully, one could see a trace of rationality in his eyes. However, the disheveled old man before him no longer possessed the slightest bit of rationality. Only madness remained. Not good, avoid this person. Lu Ming's dashing figure came to a halt. Meng Ran changed his direction and flew to the left. The short man who was chasing after Lu Ming also noticed the disheveled old man. His speed suddenly decreased. At this moment, the crazy old man also noticed Lu Ming and the short man. Kill, kill, kill. When the disheveled old man saw Lu Ming and the short man, it seemed like he had found a target. He became even crazier. He raised his head to the sky and roared. Then, he charged towards Lu Ming and the short man. When he was still far away from them, the old man started attacking. A few palm prints blasted toward Lu Ming and the short man as if they could topple mountains and overturn seas. The power was extremely terrifying. What terrifying strength! He's definitely at the 5th Great Supreme God layer. No, he's not only at the 5th Great Supreme God layer. He's at least at the 6th. Lu Ming was terrified. He wanted to use the greater teleportation technique to escape, but the palm strikes were oppressing him. The space around him was extremely chaotic. Using the greater teleportation technique was extremely difficult. No, it was too late. He couldn't use the greater teleportation technique anymore. So Lu Ming used the great aurora technique and turned into an aurora. In a flash, he was already 10,000 li away. Boom, boom, boom. A palm print crushed the place where Lu Ming had been standing earlier. Everywhere it passed, the void collapsed and the mountain peak on the ground exploded. A gully that was tens of thousands of miles long appeared. That place was the prison of the Heavenly Palace. Of course, it was extremely sturdy. It wasn't like the primitive universe. Otherwise, that palm strike wouldn't have just created a ravine, it would have destroyed the earth and sky. The prison of the Heavenly Palace couldn't be destroyed so easily. Otherwise, how could it keep so many ferocious and powerful prisoners? How could it keep those prisoners forever? On the other side, the short man's eyes were also filled with fear. He turned around and fled, avoiding the attack of the palm print. The short man's mental state was better than the others. He still had some rationality left. He knew he was scared and that he couldn't defeat the old man. Die, die, die. The old man with disheveled hair kept roaring. His body emitted a violent aura as if he wanted to destroy everything. He directly rushed towards the short man. His speed was extremely shocking. It was obvious that he was much faster than the short man. Lu Ming was delighted. The old man with disheveled hair chased after the short man. It was likely that the short man's cultivation was higher. He instinctively chased after the old man. This gave Lu Ming a chance. Lu Ming chose the opposite direction of the short man and used the greater teleportation technique to leave. He prayed that the short man could hold on for a while longer. However, Lu Ming's prayer didn't come true. In just a few breaths, he heard a shrill scream that spread hundreds of thousands of li away. He was killed so quickly. Lu Ming's heart sank. He burst out with all his strength and pushed the greater teleportation technique to the extreme. However, it didn't take long for a violent roar to come from behind him. Die, die, die. The words die made the air shake. A violent chi rushed towards Lu Ming from behind. The old man with disheveled hair appeared again. He was tens of thousands of li away from Lu Ming. He was rapidly approaching Lu Ming. He killed that guy so quickly. How terrifying. Lu Ming looked grave. That old man with disheveled hair was really terrifying. He was definitely above the 5th great supreme god layer. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to catch up with the short man and kill him so quickly. He had to be at least of the 6th great supreme god layer. If he caught up with Lu Ming would definitely die. Lu Ming kept using the greater teleportation technique. Each time, he moved tens of thousands of li away. However, even with his incredible speed, he still couldn't get rid of the old man. The distance between the two of them was getting shorter and shorter. I'm in trouble. If it doesn't work, I'll have to use the copper coffin to try. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. However, at that moment the situation changed. Roar, roar, roar. Ferocious beasts suddenly appeared in the surroundings. Lu Ming scanned the area with his spiritual awareness and discovered that there were more than 10 ferocious beasts. Those beasts were extremely strong and their chi and blood were boiling. Chapter 42-31. The sudden appearance of more than a dozen ferocious beasts with vigorous vitality immediately attracted the attention of the disheveled old man. The disheveled old man had clearly gone completely crazy. His attention was completely focused on the vitality. He would be attracted to those with strong vitality and strength. Previously, the short man was stronger than Lu Ming, so the disheveled old man was the first to chase after him. Now, the dozen or so ferocious beasts were also very powerful. They were like furnaces that immediately attracted the disheveled old man's attention. Kill! The disheveled old man roared. He struck out with his palm and blasted a ferocious beast into a bloody mist. The other ferocious beasts turned around and ran in all directions. The disheveled old man roared and chased after them. This is a good chance. Lu Ming didn't expect to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Suddenly, more than a dozen abnormally powerful ferocious beasts appeared here. He found it strange because this was the Heavenly Palace's heavenly prison. It was filled with heart flame and devil fire. Other than the creatures imprisoned here, there were no other living beings. At least, Lu Ming hadn't seen any other living beings after flying for so long. Other than the disheveled old man and the short man, he hadn't seen any other living beings. It was very strange that more than a dozen ferocious beasts with powerful vitality suddenly appeared here. However, now wasn't the time to think about it. Lu Ming seized the opportunity and shifted in one direction several times. Young friend, come with me. After Lu Ming shifted a few times, he suddenly heard a voice by his ear. Lu Ming was startled. He looked in that direction and saw a skinny middle-aged man on a mountain peak. This middle-aged man was waving at Lu Ming. Lu Ming instinctively raised his guard. However, Lu Ming noticed that the middle-aged man's eyes were very calm. There was no madness in them. This was very different from the disheveled old man and the short man he had encountered before. Young friend, come with me. I was the one who released those ferocious beasts. They won't be able to hold them off for long. They will catch up soon. I have a safe place where we can avoid their pursuit. The skinny middle-aged man continued speaking with sincerity. So those ferocious beasts were released by this person. No wonder ferocious beasts would suddenly appear here. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. After a few thoughts flashed through his mind, Lu Ming flew towards the other party. Lu Ming had considered his decision to fly towards the other party. The other party was right. Although the dozen or so beasts had powerful blood and qi, their strength was only average. They definitely wouldn't be able to stop the disheveled old man's pursuit. It wouldn't be long before the old man caught up again. If this continued, it would be difficult for him to escape. On the other hand, this skinny middle-aged man looked relatively normal and didn't go crazy. If they followed him, they might be able to escape. The most important thing now was to shake off that crazy old man with disheveled hair. Come, follow me. I've set up some interference formations in this area. That guy has already gone crazy, so it'll be easy to trick him. The skinny middle-aged man said as he led Lu Ming in a certain direction. He didn't seem to have any ill intentions. Of course, Lu Ming would not let down his guard so easily. Although he left with the other party, he was always on guard. Not long after, they passed through a dense forest. Lu Ming found traces of formations in the forest as expected. The formations weren't brilliant and were easy to discover. However, it shouldn't be a problem to use them to confuse the old man with disheveled hair because the other party had already gone crazy and lost his mind. After passing through the forest, they walked for a distance and passed through several places with formations. Then they came to a canyon. All right, it's safe here. That guy definitely won't chase us. My name is Ronggung. How should I address you, little friend? The skinny middle-aged man smiled. Mu Yun. Thank you for saving me this time, senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said, Hey, don't be so polite. This is the Heavenly Palace's prison. We were all imprisoned here by the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace is our common enemy. It's only right that we help each other. Ronggung smiled. He was very amiable and gave people a feeling of being approachable. By the way, little friend Mu Yun, I've never seen you in this area before. Did you come from another area or just enter this prison? Ronggung asked. I just got here not long ago. There are many things I don't understand. Senior, please enlighten me. Lu Ming said. You're welcome. Come, let's sit down. We'll talk while we eat. Ronggung waved his hand. A stone table and several stone stools appeared in the valley. There were also several jars of wine on the table. Haha, I used some special means to bribe the heavenly soldiers of the Heavenly Palace to get them here. There aren't many left. Please. Ronggung pushed a jar of wine to Lu Ming and took one for himself. He opened the lid and immediately, a strong aroma of wine spread out. Ronggung picked up the jar and gulped down several mouthfuls. He heaved a sigh of satisfaction. Lu Ming thought for a moment. Then, he picked up the jar and drank as well. Then, he sat down on the stool. Senior Ronggung, what's with those beasts? Are they your pets? Lu Ming asked. No, they're not. Ronggung shook his head and said, Those are puppets I refined from the essence blood of desolate beasts that I collected in the past. Because they were refined from the essence blood of desolate beasts, although their vitality is strong, their combat strength isn't strong. They'll probably be killed by that old fellow very soon. Senior, I'm sorry that you suffered such a great loss. Lu Ming said with a grateful expression on his face. Haha, like I said before, the Heavenly Palace is our common enemy. It's only right that we help each other. Ronggung smiled again. But Brother Mu Yun, this is your first time here. You must be careful. The inner flames here are horrifying. Ronggung's eyes were extremely solemn. Senior, please enlighten me. Lu Ming said. The inner flames are everywhere in this prison. This kind of inner flames is horrifying. They can burn the body, the soul, and the mind all the time. The physical pain is easy to endure, but the mental pain is hard to withstand. The longer you stay in the imperial prison, the greater the influence of the heart flame and the more negative emotions you have in your heart will erupt. Some people will go crazy when they can't handle it. Therefore, most of the creatures in the prison will become horrifying because of the outburst of negative emotions. For example, some people are bloodthirsty, some are murderous, some like to torture others, and some like to devour other creatures. These people can only vent their emotions in certain ways. For example, those who are bloodthirsty will kill other creatures to drink their blood. Those who are bloodthirsty will torture other creatures to vent their emotions. That way they can relieve their pain. Worst of all, they will lose control of their minds and fall into madness, just like the old man you met before. Ronggung explained. Chapter 42-32. Rongung's words made Lu Ming's expression turn even more solemn. This heavenly prison was indeed very terrifying. The people who stayed here were simply being tortured at all times. It wasn't just physical torture, but also mental torture. Everyone's mental state had a weakness. The longer one stayed here, the more this weakness would be magnified. It was a kind of pain to anyone. Some people would choose special methods to vent, such as bloodthirsty, killing people, etc. Those who couldn't bear it would fall into madness. The heavenly palace uses such methods to torture us. Many people couldn't bear it and would submit to the heavenly palace, becoming the heavenly palace's tool. Ronggung sighed. Could it be that there's no way to resist the heart devil fire? Or is there no way to escape from this heavenly prison? Lu Ming asked. There is. Ronggung nodded and said, I've heard that there are people who can resist the attack of the heart devil fire in the heavenly prison. As for escaping, it's impossible. As far as I know, no one has ever escaped from the heavenly prison unless they submit to the heavenly palace and the heavenly palace takes the initiative to release them. Otherwise, they can only stay in the heavenly prison forever. However, submitting to the heavenly palace isn't that easy. Some people even submit to the heavenly palace, but the heavenly palace is too lazy to agree. Can't we leave? Lu Ming frowned. Little friend Mu Yun, come, let's drink. We can cooperate later. Perhaps we can find a way to resist the heart devil fire. Ronggung said and continued to drink with Lu Ming. The two of them drank and chatted. Lu Ming asked about the heavenly prison again. After a while, suddenly, Lu Ming's expression changed. He staggered and sat on the ground with a pale face. What's going on? Why do I feel weak all over? Am I poisoned? There's poison in your wine. Lu Ming bellowed and glared at Ronggung. He, ha ha ha, finally acting up? Ronggung suddenly laughed wildly. At this moment, his eyes were no longer calm. Instead, they revealed a ferocious look as he stared at Lu Ming as if he was looking at his prey. The wine is poisoned? How could it be? I checked it before I drank it. Lu Ming roared. Ha ha ha, let me tell you, the wine is not poisonous, but this wine has been specially refined by me. A special herb has been added in it, so it is not poisonous. However, once it is mixed with a special smell in this valley, it will produce a strong poison. Even a peak divine emperor will die from it. That's why you can't feel anything wrong with the wine. Ronggung chuckled coldly and explained. Why? Why did you save me first and then poison me? Lu Ming asked with an extremely puzzled and unwilling expression. Once you've been poisoned by my poison, you won't die immediately. You'll die slowly and your body will rot away. The process will be incomparably painful. Don't you think that it's very satisfying to see others poisoned and dying painfully in front of you? Ha ha! Ronggung laughed as he spoke. The craziness in his eyes intensified. Amidst the craziness, there was also a strong sense of excitement. Lu Ming understood that Ronggung was no different from the short man he met previously. He was also affected by the heart devil fire. His negative emotions erupted and he became crazy and perverted. While others were bloodthirsty, Ronggung liked to see others poisoned by him and die painfully in front of him. This way he would be satisfied. Therefore he saved Lu Ming so that Lu Ming would lower his guard and be poisoned by him. In an instant, Lu Ming understood everything. The heavenly prison of the heavenly palace was indeed very dangerous because it was filled with a group of crazy people who erupted with negative emotions. Looking at Lu Ming's pale face, Ronggung felt an inexplicable sense of pleasure. It was as if some kind of violent emotion in his heart had been released. Kid, You don't have to think about using your martial arts to expel the poison. My poison can't be expelled. Once you're poisoned, there's only one outcome, which is to die slowly from poisoning. You're only feeling weak now. Soon, your body will fester and your bones will be corroded. You'll die in extreme pain. Ha ha ha. The more excited Rongung was, the crazier his eyes became. You're in a pitiful state. In my opinion, it's better to send you on your way. Living on is more painful. At this moment, Lu Ming's face suddenly regained its calmness. He looked at Rongung with pity. Rongung didn't look like he was poisoned at all. He looked normal. His breathing was stable and his complexion was ruddy. It was a world of difference from before. Rongung widened his eyes in shock and said in disbelief, You're not poisoned? Wrong. I'm indeed poisoned. However, this poison doesn't work on me. Lu Ming said indifferently. In fact, Lu Ming knew something was wrong when Rongung took out the wine. When he took the first sip, he knew that there was poison. However, although the poison was powerful, it didn't work on him at all. Every cell in his body contained forbidden energy. No matter how powerful the poison was, how could it destroy every cell in one go? Obviously, it was impossible. Although the poison was powerful, it could only penetrate into the cells in some important parts of the body. It was much weaker than the prohibition power on the heavenly soldier armor. Lu Ming only needed to circulate his forbidden energy slightly to refine the poison. Lu Ming had pretended to be shocked just now. Boy, how could you refine my poison? How is that possible? Rongung roared. His face was even more ferocious. He stared at Lu Ming and continued to roar, Even if you can refine my poison, you'll still die. You're only at the Divine Emperor realm. Kill, Puff. As soon as Rongung said the word kill, his chest was suddenly pierced by a sword radiance. Rongung widened his eyes in disbelief. He didn't even know when Lu Ming had attacked him. Let me tell you, it's called the Great Assassination Technique. Dang, said Lu Ming coldly. The sword radiance contained the Great Destruction Technique. Rongung gave a horrible shriek and turned into ashes. Even his soul couldn't escape. Actually, Rongung wasn't weak. He had the strength of the fourth great supreme god layer. Lu Ming couldn't defeat him in a direct battle. But Rongung had thought that Lu Ming was poisoned, so he hadn't prepared any defense against Lu Ming. When he found out that Lu Ming wasn't poisoned, he turned pale with fright and panicked. Lu Ming then used one of the 3,000 ancient secret skills, the Great Assassination Technique, to attack Rongung's vitals. Then, he used the Great Destruction Technique to kill Rongung. Rongung thought that everything was under his control, but he didn't know that Lu Ming had already seen through it. He had planned a fierce counterattack. I have to thank you for saving me before. So, I'll give you a quick death. You're free now. You don't need to be tortured by negative emotions anymore. Die in peace, whispered Lu Ming. Then he left. Chapter 42-33. After killing Rongung, Lu Ming left the valley and headed in a certain direction. This time, Lu Ming was much more careful. He didn't fly in the air. Instead, he concealed his aura and moved along the ground. If he flew in the air, he would be easily discovered if he encountered any frenzied living beings. Of course, if he didn't want to encounter any of them, it was best to find a secluded place to stay. But that would only be safe for a short period of time. In the long run, it would become more dangerous. This was because Lu Ming wasn't completely immune to the inner flame. The inner flame couldn't affect his body, but it could affect his mind and spirit. In the long run, negative emotions would emerge in his heart, and he might even lose control. That would be a dead end. For example, that old man with disheveled hair who had lost control of himself. If he encountered someone with a weaker cultivation base, he would naturally chase after him. But if he encountered someone with a stronger cultivation base, that old man would be killed without the slightest suspense. Once he lost control, his life would no longer be in his own hands. Lu Ming didn't want to see that happen. Rongung had said that there was a way to prevent the mind from going out of control. He had to find that way. Besides, if he stayed where he was, he couldn't leave. If he wanted to find a way out of the Heavenly Palace's prison, he had to explore. If he stayed where he was, he definitely couldn't find a way out. Although Rongung had said that he couldn't leave the Heavenly Palace's prison, how would he know if he didn't try? Soon, another dozen days passed. In these dozen days, Lu Ming encountered no less than 10 living beings. But because Lu Ming was careful, he avoided them from afar and didn't meet them. He discovered that not all of these creatures had lost control and gone mad. In fact, most of them had not lost control and gone mad, but their minds were somewhat abnormal, and their symptoms varied from mild to severe. Lu Ming didn't dare to approach them. He didn't know the details. And several times, he saw living beings fighting each other. The living beings here were full of negative emotions. They could easily kill each other when they met. This also proved that the prison was really dangerous. This made Lu Ming even more careful. Another thing that made Lu Ming's heart heavy was that as time passed, he found that his heart was becoming more and more restless. He would often feel inexplicably unhappy and would want to kill someone to vent. Lu Ming knew that his mind was constantly being affected. Although it was still under control, that was because he had only been here for a short period of time. As time passed, the situation would definitely get worse. I have to find a way to defend against the Heart Flame Devil fire. It's a pity that Bone Devil isn't here. Otherwise, I could ask him. Lu Ming thought to himself as he stuck close to the ground and continued flying. Another day later, boom! Intense rumbling sounds could be heard from up ahead. Divine light flickered about, indicating that there were people fighting a great battle. Lu Ming's figure flickered as he executed one of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques, the Great Concealment Technique. He hid behind a large rock and merged with the rock as he carefully observed the front. Up ahead, there were 2 living beings engaged in an intense battle. One of them was covered in purple golden scales. The other one had 2 spiraling horns on his head. The 2 of them were fighting intensely. Their energies were surging and the earth was shaking. Fourth Great Supreme God Layer, whispered Lu Ming. The 2 of them were both at the 4th Great Supreme God Layer. They were evenly matched. It was difficult to tell who would win. However, Lu Ming observed carefully. He could see that the 2 of them weren't completely out of control. They were just mentally unstable. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Lu Ming watched for a while and got ready to leave. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming's body stiffened and his pupils shrank. He was about to leave when he stopped. Because a net had suddenly appeared on the ground in front of him. An incomparably gigantic net that covered thousands of miles rushed out from the ground towards the 2 beings that were engaged in a fierce battle. The 2 of them hadn't lost control. They were startled and hastily stopped fighting. Then, they flew in 2 different directions, trying to escape from the net. However, surprisingly, as they flew, the net became bigger and bigger. No matter how they flew, they couldn't get out of the net's range. In just a few breaths of time, the large net caught the 2 creatures. The large net shrunk, firmly locking the 2 creatures in place, making it difficult for them to move. After the 2 of them were caught, a middle-aged man in a red robe appeared in the sky. He raised his hand and the net appeared in his hand. Hee, I caught 2 more. Not bad. The man in the red robe nodded. Then, his figure flickered and he disappeared. Lu Ming didn't come out immediately. He waited for a while. When he didn't find anything strange, he released the Great Concealment Technique and flew in a certain direction. However, Lu Ming hadn't flown far when he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. His hair stood on end. He sensed danger. In the next moment, Lu Ming found that a large net had appeared on the ground and was about to envelop him. Lu Ming didn't hesitate to use the Greater Teleportation Technique to leave. However, he was shocked when he used the Greater Teleportation Technique. He found that the space was like a quagmire. It was extremely sticky and stuck to him, making it difficult for him to leave. This huge net had actually affected space. The Greater Teleportation Technique didn't work. Greater Aurora Technique. Lu Ming immediately changed to the Greater Aurora Technique. He turned into an aurora and rushed into the distance. However, when he reappeared, he found that he hadn't escaped the net. He was still in the net. Oh no, this net is not only a treasure. It has also combined with a formation. This area is enveloped in a large formation. Lu Ming soon found something fishy. This area had been set up with a formation. The combination of the large net and the formation was very mysterious. No matter how he flew, he couldn't escape the range of the large net. Lu Ming no longer moved horizontally. Instead, he used the Greater Aurora Technique and rushed directly into the sky. However, what Lu Ming didn't expect was that as soon as he rushed into the sky, a large net suddenly appeared in the sky and enveloped him. In this way, Lu Ming was equivalent to throwing himself into the net. As soon as he rushed into the large net quickly shrank and entangled Lu Ming tightly like chains. Oh no, I'm in trouble. He found that he was completely locked and tightly entangled. No matter how much forbidden power he used, he couldn't break free. Preconceived notions killed people. Previously, when he saw the two creatures being captured, there was no large net in the sky. That was why he rushed into the sky with all his strength. He didn't expect there to be a large net in the sky. Otherwise, he wouldn't have thrown himself into the net. Chapter 42-34. After Lu Ming was trapped in the net, two silhouettes appeared in the sky. They were wearing red clothes. One of them was a middle-aged man, the one Lu Ming had seen before. The other one was an old man. The old man stretched out his hand and grabbed Lu Ming's net. A cultivator of the 9th godly emperor layer was imprisoned by the heavenly palace. How strange, whispered the old man in red clothes. His eyes were sometimes clear, and sometimes there was a trace of tyrannical aura flashing through them. He seemed very unstable. However, compared to the people Lu Ming had met previously, they were in a much better state. They were closer to normal. Indeed, it's strange. Anyway, let's bring him back and let the officer deal with him, said the man in red clothes. Then the two of them left and disappeared. Lu Ming was trapped in the big net and could not move at all. However, his eyeballs could still move and he sized up the surrounding environment. The ground below continued to pass by. Not long after, they arrived at a mountain peak. The terrain there was strange. There were 9 mountains in a circle. In the middle of those mountains there was a valley. In the valley, there was a gigantic building. The building was made of stone and looked magnificent. It looked like a coliseum. The burly man in the red robe and the old man in the red robe led Lu Ming and the rest to a big hall in the building. They could see a burly man with a square face sitting at the top of the hall. This burly man was extremely tall and sturdy. Even though he was sitting there, he was still more than 3 meters tall. When he opened and closed his eyes, there was always a trace of tyrannical killing intent flashing through. His chi was extremely thick. Even though he didn't release his chi, it was still oppressive. A strong cultivator. When Lu Ming saw him, he had the feeling that he was extremely strong. He wasn't an ordinary great supreme god. He had the strength of the 4th or 5th great supreme god layer. Officer, we're back. The man in red clothes and the old man in red clothes bowed to the square-faced man. That's what you got? Surprisingly, there's a godly emperor layer cultivator here. The commander above frowned. Below them, the red-robed old man and the red-robed man's faces turned pale, and fear appeared on their faces. Commander, there are fewer and fewer people in this area recently. We've waited for 3 months and only caught these 3. The red-robed old man hurriedly replied. Please forgive us, Commander. As for the red-robed man, he pleaded for forgiveness in fear and trepidation. All right, you may leave. Lock them up and wait for my orders. The commander casually waved his hand. The red-robed old man and the red-robed man felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. They bowed and retreated. Then they walked towards an underground staircase. Unexpectedly, the ground here had been emptied, and numerous secret chambers had been dug out. No, they were stone prisons. Lu Ming discovered that there were many people imprisoned in these stone prisons. Outside the stone prison, there were many people in red robes patrolling. I can't believe that there are people in the Heavenly Palace's celestial prison. What's their purpose for capturing us? Lu Ming pondered as he looked around. It was obvious that these people in red robes belonged to a certain force. The people in the stone prison were all captured by them. However, he did not know why they had captured them. Soon, the red-robed old man carried Lu Ming to a stone prison. Then, with a wave of his hand, the net slowly loosened. The moment the net was loosened, 2 talismans appeared in the red-robed old man's hand. With a wave of his hand, the 2 talismans were stuck on Lu Ming's body. When the 2 talismans were stuck on Lu Ming's body, they turned into runes. Like small snakes, they crawled all over Lu Ming's body and even entered Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming felt his body being locked up. Lu Ming knew that the 2 talismans had formed a restriction that could trap him. It seemed that the other people in the stone prison were also trapped by the same restriction. When he saw that Lu Ming was trapped by the restriction, the red-robed old man waved his hand and completely retracted the net. Kid, stay here and don't run around. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. With your strength, anyone here can kill you. The red-robed old man said coldly before turning around and leaving the stone prison. With a bang, the door of the stone prison was closed. Lu Ming casually sized up the stone prison. Soon, his gaze locked onto a corner of the stone prison. Because there was a mummy there. It was really a mummy. Furthermore, the mummy was chained up. The other end of the chain was embedded in the wall of the stone prison. There was no sign of life on the mummy. If an ordinary person saw this scene, they would definitely be scared. However, Lu Ming had experienced all kinds of situations. He only glanced at it indifferently and sat down in another corner of the stone prison. Can the power of the restriction trap me? There was a flash in Lu Ming's eyes as he circulated the taboo power. Immediately, he could feel that the restriction power formed by the runes on his body had loosened. Lu Ming felt that as long as he was willing, he could erase the restriction power at any time. However, Lu Ming recalled his forbidden strength and didn't do that. Outside the stone prison, there were many red-robed people patrolling. These red-robed men, unsurprisingly, were all god emperors. Some of their chi was extremely dense. They probably had the strength of the fourth great supreme god layer or above. Even if Lu Ming managed to break free from the restriction seal, he wouldn't be able to defeat them and would be killed. Anyway, there wasn't any danger for the time being. Lu Ming decided to wait and see what would happen. Lu Ming decided that if he encountered any danger, he would immediately take out the purple copper coffin and risk his life. But after that, it was very peaceful. Lu Ming waited in the stone prison for 7 days, but nothing happened. Nobody came to look for him. What Lu Ming did not know was that at this moment, there was a life-and-death battle going on above his head. Above the stone prison, there was a gigantic battle stage surrounded by a gigantic deployment spell. Outside the battle stage, there were some red-robed people standing in all directions. On the north side, there was a tall and sturdy person sitting on a chair. It was the officer. At that moment, on the battle stage, there were 2 silhouettes fighting intensely. Kill, kill, kill to your heart's content. Remember, only one of you can live. If you can't kill one of you, I will kill both of you. Ha ha ha. That pupil laughed loudly. His eyes filled with excitement and madness. It was as if he had just seen something extremely exciting. Die! Die! On the battle stage, the 2 silhouettes were fighting even more intensely. They understood that if they wanted to live, they had to kill each other. Only by killing each other could they live. Otherwise they would have to stay there forever. Slash. Both of them had the strength of the second great supreme god layer. After 100 attacks, one of them finally gained the upper hand and cut off the other's arm. Chapter 42-35. One of them had his arm cut off. Blood splashed everywhere, and he howled in agony. Good, haha. The officer was even more excited when he saw that. He clapped his hands and laughed. Ferocious looks appeared in the eyes of the surrounding red-robed men. Die! The person who had the upper hand followed up his victory and attacked crazily. After more than 10 moves, he chopped off his opponent's head with a single slash. All right. The commander shouted as the excitement in his eyes reached its peak. Take him away and bring someone else up, ordered the officer. Someone immediately went up and took the one who had won away. After a short time, 2 more people were brought up. The 2 people who had been brought up had the strength of the third great supreme god layer. My rules are simple. You can fight as much as you want. Only one of you can live. If I find out that you didn't use your full strength, I'll kill you myself. Now let's start, said the officer coldly. Roar. As soon as the commander finished speaking, one of the creatures made his move. He turned into a 3-headed lion and pounced toward his opponent. Caw! A sharp cry rang out as his opponent transformed into a huge white eagle. It spread its wings and flew up. With a flap of its wings, its feathers pierced towards the 3 lions like divine swords. The 2 cultivators of the third great supreme god layer were fighting intensely. They were equally strong, so the battle was intense. After a few hundred attacks, both of them were injured and covered in wounds. But they didn't care about their injuries. They continued attacking like crazy, using their full strength to kill their opponent. Only by killing their opponent could they save their own lives. The more the officer saw that, the more excited he was. In the end, the 2 cultivators won. The lion had paid a terrible price. 2 of his heads had been cut off. Finally, he killed the gigantic white eagle. Phew! Seeing this, the commander let out a long sigh of relief. It was as if some sort of emotion in his heart had been vented. His eyes became a little clearer. Soon, the 3-headed lion was brought away. By the way, last time, didn't you capture a little boy of the 9th godly emperor layer? The heavenly palace put a little boy of the 9th godly emperor layer in prison. Interesting. That little boy is probably extraordinary. Bring him out, I want to see how strong he is, said the officer. Officer, what kind of opponent should we give him? The people we captured were all great supreme gods. None of them had the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer. The old man in red clothes who had captured Lu Ming last time bowed hand over fist. All right. Give him a cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer. Remember, a weak one. Otherwise that little boy, said the officer. This subordinate understands. This subordinate will make the arrangements right away. The red-robed old man accepted the order and headed down to the stone dungeon. Calm. The red-robed old man walked in and said, finally, thought Lu Ming. They had captured him for a reason. Finally it was about to start. Lu Ming's spiritual awareness was connected to the purple copper coffin in his consciousness. If something went wrong, he would immediately take out the purple copper coffin and risk his life. Lu Ming didn't say much. He followed the old man out of the prison. They passed through a passage and came out of a stone door. Lu Ming realized he was on a battle stage. In front of him, a silhouette came out of a stone door. That silhouette was a tall and sturdy man with 2 blades on his back. He was looking at Lu Ming ferociously. A battle stage? Do they want us to kill each other while they watch from the outside? Lu Ming glanced around. When he saw what was going on, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. After the old man in the red robe brought Lu Ming there, he flew away from the battle stage and landed next to the commander. Let me tell you what to do. You two kill each other. Kill each other as much as you want. Only when you kill each other can the winner live. If you don't try your best, I will attack and kill both of you. Do you understand? Now let's start, said the commander coldly. Dang. As soon as the commander finished his words, the burly man with 2 sabers on his back roared and pulled out his sabers. He took a few steps forward and pounced on Lu Ming at lightning speed. He hadn't even arrived yet, but the 2 blades were already moving towards Lu Ming's head. Only the 1st great supreme god layer. He's not at his peak. It seems like he's injured. Once the other party struck, Lu Ming's expression was very calm. He had already sensed his opponent's cultivation level. He was an ordinary cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer. He was injured and not at his peak. Lu Ming didn't care about a cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer. With a thought, the taboo power circulated and Lu Ming threw a punch. The man in the red robe had already removed the forbidden energy on his body when he had walked out of the passage. Therefore, Lu Ming wasn't restricted by the forbidden energy. Lu Ming had already cast the Great Destruction skill with this punch. Clang! Clang! Lu Ming's fist collided with the other party's saber and there were 2 loud bangs. Following which, a figure retreated rapidly. It was the tall and sturdy man with 2 blades on his back. At that moment, his blades had already flown away. His arms had already exploded. The terrifying energy of the Great Destruction art had destroyed them. He coughed up blood and was pushed back. Swoosh! Lu Ming had already caught up with him. He casually grabbed the 2 sabers that the other party had let go of and slashed them out. Slash! Blood splashed everywhere. A head flew up. The tall and sturdy man of the 1st great supreme god layer had been killed. This scene caused the surrounding people to be dumbfounded. Especially the commander. He had been prepared to watch a fierce battle. He hadn't thought that Lu Ming would win. Moreover, he had won so quickly. He had thought that Lu Ming was a godly emperor. Since he had been imprisoned by the heavenly palace, he must be extraordinary. He might be able to fight against a great supreme god. However, great supreme gods were much stronger than godly emperors. In order to have an exciting battle, he had sent a cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer who hadn't recovered yet. However, the result was beyond his expectations. He's so strong. No wonder he was imprisoned by the heavenly palace, even though he's only a godly emperor. Go and bring out an uninjured cultivator of the 1st great supreme god layer. ordered the commander. He didn't like to watch one-sided battles. It wasn't exciting. He liked to watch battles between people of similar strength. That kind of battle was bloody and cruel. He liked to watch people fight to the death. He liked that kind of feeling. Chapter 42-36. The battle stage was quickly cleaned up, and the corpse of the middle-aged man with the double sabers was also cleaned up. Then, another silhouette appeared on the fighting stage. It was a tall and sturdy man. He looked ferocious and crazy as he stared at Lu Ming. First Great Supreme God Layer. He has the strength of the First Great Supreme God Layer. The man didn't hide his chi at all. Lu Ming could easily see his cultivation level. The man's chi was extremely thick. He was obviously in his peak condition. He wasn't injured at all. The rules are the same. You two fight with your full strength. Only the winner can live. Let's start. The commander's voice rang out with a strong sense of anticipation. Roar! As soon as the officer finished talking, the tall and sturdy man roared furiously. His body quickly became bigger and bigger, turning into a black bear. The black bear was more than 10 meters tall. It looked like a small mountain as it charged towards Lu Ming. Its paw was bigger than a door as it slapped towards Lu Ming. Even though it looked like a simple slap, it was terrifyingly powerful. It was as thick as a mountain. In the chaotic universe, even a planet would be destroyed by it. The strong wind was already cutting Lu Ming's skin. However, no matter how strong his opponent was, he was only an ordinary cultivator of the First Great Supreme God Layer. As long as he could fight against someone who was 4 levels higher, he could compete against him. Lu Ming could fight against someone who was 9 levels higher. However, Lu Ming was thinking about something else. The officer of this place obviously liked to watch people fight against each other. He liked to watch people fight against each other. Therefore, Lu Ming couldn't use his full strength. The stronger he appeared, the stronger the other party would send to fight him. If that continued, sooner or later, they would send someone who was stronger than Lu Ming. Then, Lu Ming would be in danger. As he pondered, he struck out with his fist and collided with the bear's paw. Boom! There was a loud explosion. The black bear's body shook violently. It staggered back a dozen steps. Lu Ming also took 2 steps back. Of course, these 2 steps were done intentionally by Lu Ming. Otherwise, how could the other party defeat Lu Ming with his strength? Even so, the commander and the others were still amazed. Incredible! He's really strong. He's only a cultivator of the 9th Godly Emperor Layer, and he's suppressing a cultivator of the First Great Supreme God Layer. He's even stronger than the candidates of the Universe Young Geniuses list. The commander sighed in admiration. This battle will definitely be a fierce battle. It will be very exciting. Commander, please enjoy it. On the side, the red-robed elder took the opportunity to flatter him. I hope so, the commander said. Roar! On the battle stage, the black bear was pushed back and went completely mad. It roared crazily and bared its fangs as it pounced toward Lu Ming. A pair of bear paws slammed down consecutively, as if wanting to smash Lu Ming into minced meat. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. He threw out continuous punches with both fists and fought with the black bear. Of course, he didn't use his full strength. He was only slightly stronger than the black bear. After a dozen attacks, the black bear was pushed back violently. Its paws were rotting and its bones were broken. Then, Lu Ming jumped up and punched the black bear's head. The black bear screamed and its head exploded. It died on the spot. He was killed so quickly? The commander was surprised. He wasn't satisfied. The red-robed elder pulled a long face and said, Commander, I think this little boy is a top genius of the primitive universe. He's only a godly emperor layer, so he can fight against cultivators who are 5 levels higher than him. Why don't we send a cultivator of the 2nd Great Supreme God Layer to test him? 2nd Great Supreme God Layer? I'm afraid he's too strong. Send a weaker cultivator of the 2nd Great Supreme God Layer. The commander nodded. I'll do it right away. The red-robed elder hastily left. After the battle platform was cleaned up, another creature appeared on the platform. It was a member of the multi-eyed clan, with 6 eyes on his face. He had 3 eyes on each side of his face. These 6 eyes actually had 3 different colors. 1 pair was red, 1 pair was blue, and 1 pair was golden. 6 pairs of eyes stared at Lu Ming simultaneously, revealing brutal murderous intents. Second Great Supreme God Layer, as expected, the stronger I am, the stronger they'll send. This time, I have to suppress my strength as much as possible. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He was even more certain of his speculation. The commander liked to watch evenly matched battles. A moment before, Lu Ming had been too strong. He had won too easily. If the enemy wasn't happy, they would send stronger cultivators. If he continued to suppress his opponent, the enemy might send a cultivator of the Third Great Supreme God Layer to fight against him. Then he would be in danger. After all, it was a battle to the death. Let's start. The commander gave a simple explanation of the rules as usual. Swoosh. This time, Lu Ming took the initiative to attack. He clenched his fist in the air and a demonic sword condensed, slashing toward the six-eyed middle-aged man. Die! The six-eyed middle-aged man reacted very quickly. With a shout, his pair of crimson eyes emitted a dazzling brilliance. 2 crimson divine lights burst forth and shot toward Lu Ming. His speed was astonishing. They were like 2 swords, aiming at Lu Ming's head. Before they even reached him, a scorching hot chi filled the air. Lu Ming pretended to be shocked. There was a look of horror in his eyes. He let out a long howl and changed the trajectory of the demonic sword in his hands. He slashed twice consecutively. Dang! Dang! The demonic sword collided with the 2 crimson divine lights, erupting with a violent roar. It was as if 2 divine weapons had collided. Then, Lu Ming's figure retreated, continuously retreating more than 10 steps on the fighting ring. 2 holes appeared on the body of the demonic sword in his hand. It had been melted by the scarlet divine light. Of course, all of this was Lu Ming's intention. Otherwise, although the other party's crimson divine light was powerful, he would not be able to break his great demonic swordsmanship. However, others didn't know that. When they saw this scene, they thought that Lu Ming was finally at his limit. Commander, this kid has finally reached his limit. This battle should be worth watching. The red-robed elder said. The commander nodded. His eyes were still fixed on the battle stage. Die! The six-eyed middle-aged man bellowed. His crimson eyes shone even brighter. Beams of crimson divine light shot toward Lu Ming continuously. Lu Ming shouted. He pressed his hands in the air. More than 10 demon swords appeared in the air and slashed towards his opponent. The sky was filled with sword light. They collided with the opponent's divine light. For a moment, Lu Ming had the upper hand. This seems to be an ancient secret skill. Interesting. The commander muttered. He seemed to have good eyesight and recognized the great demon sword art. Soon, the 2 sides exchanged more than 10 moves. Lu Ming had a slight upper hand. Chapter 42-37. Lu Ming had the upper hand because he knew that the middle-aged man hadn't used his full strength yet. His opponent had 6 eyes and he was only using 2. As expected, the middle-aged man was at a disadvantage. He roared furiously and his 6 eyes shone with dazzling light. 2 of his blue eyes shone with divine light. They were extremely cold, as if they could freeze everything. 2 beams of golden sword light shot out from the golden eyes. They were incomparably sharp and indestructible. When the 6 eyes attacked at the same time, their power increased greatly. For a moment, Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. Lu Ming pretended that the battle was very difficult. He kept fighting with his opponent, as if he was using his full strength. In the end, they exchanged more than 100 moves. Lu Ming pretended to be weak and his opponent's divine light pierced through his body. However, Lu Ming took advantage of this opportunity to quickly get closer to the middle-aged man. He condensed dozens of great demon sword skills and slashed them wildly. In the end, he killed the middle-aged man. Then, Lu Ming staggered back and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Blood kept flowing out of the holes in his body. He looked like he had been seriously injured. Lu Ming deliberately restrained his forbidden strength to prevent his wounds from healing. Otherwise, with his physique, he would be able to recover from this injury very quickly. Not bad, wonderful, shouted the commander. He looked very satisfied. A cultivator of the 9th Godly Emperor layer had killed a cultivator of the 2nd Great Supreme God layer. He had never seen such a thing before. Of course he was very satisfied. The red-robed old man also smiled. After all, He was the one who had brought Lu Ming back. "Commander, should we send more people to fight with him?" asked the red-robed old man in a low voice. "No, he's already injured. Take him back to heal. We'll see next time. That's all for today," said the commander. Then he stood up and left. The old man in the red robe stepped onto the battle stage. "Boy, come back with me," said the red-robed old man. He took out 2 talismans and put them on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming looked around. He didn't dodge, nor did he take the opportunity to rush out. There were many red-robed people nearby, and many of them were very strong. Lu Ming estimated that there were at least 20 people who could kill him. Not to mention the unfathomable commander. He could probably suppress him with one finger. Lu Ming had thought of taking out the purple copper coffin and risking his life. However, there were too many uncertainties with the purple copper coffin. Firstly, opening the purple copper coffin would put him in danger. Secondly, the purple copper coffin was sometimes ineffective. For some of the ordinary races in the universe, it didn't seem to work. So unless it was a last resort, Lu Ming would not use the coffin. If he lost control, or if it didn't work, he would be in trouble. In any case, his life was not in danger now, so he was not in a hurry to risk his life. He would wait for the right time to make a decision. With a bang, the door of the stone cell closed. The red-robed old man left. After the red-robed old man left, Lu Ming sat cross-legged in a corner of the stone cell. He circulated his forbidden power. The wounds on his body healed at an amazing speed. In a few moments, the wounds were completely healed. "Amazing, amazing. I knew that you're not simple, little fellow." Just then a figure's voice sounded. This figure appeared to be very old and seemed to be rather weak. But Lu Ming was shocked. The voice came from the stone cell. However, there was no one else in the stone cell except for him. Who was the voice? No, there was another mummy in the stone cell. Lu Ming had a flash of inspiration and looked at the mummy. The mummy was still the same mummy. It was chained there and had no aura. But Lu Ming didn't dare to relax. He still stared at it and said, "Are you the one who spoke? Is there a third person in this stone cell other than you and me?" That voice sounded again. This time, Lu Ming accurately captured that the voice was indeed from the mummy. The mummy was alive. Just then, the mummy that had no aura suddenly emitted a trace of life. Although it wasn't strong, it was indeed the aura of life. This was indeed not a mummy, but a living creature. The next moment, the mummy opened its eyes and stared straight at Lu Ming, revealing a look of anticipation. "Senior, you're not dead. Why have you been pretending to be dead?" Lu Ming asked coldly. "My aura was too weak. I had to restrain my life force. Otherwise I would have died," the mummy said. Lu Ming looked carefully. This mummy was actually an old man with a head full of white hair. Lu Ming replied with a soft "oh," but didn't comment. "Little guy, your power is very special and very strong. Based on my observation, the power of the seal can't control you. If you want to break free, you can break free of the seal at any time, right?" the old man said. "You were also captured by these red-robed men?" Lu Ming asked. "Of course. It's not hard to tell," the old man said. "Who are these red-robed men?" Lu Ming asked again. "They are all people imprisoned here by the Heavenly Palace. They were gathered by Commander Tungsten to form a force. You've been in this prison for a while, right? I'm sure you're aware that this prison is extremely dangerous. It's filled with heart flame devil fire. If you stay in the heart flame devil fire for a long time, you won't be able to escape. Not only will the body be tortured, but the mind and spirit will be even more terrifying. As time goes by, the negative emotions in one's heart will erupt. Then, the inner demon will erupt, causing one to fall into madness. Therefore, the prison in this world is very dangerous. You will encounter people with negative emotions. The negative emotions in one's heart will be infinitely magnified. Some people are bloodthirsty, some are lustful, and so on. Therefore, those with weak cultivation will need to seek the protection of experts. Those red-robed men need the protection of Commander Tungsten, and Commander Tungsten needs these people to go around and capture people for him." The old man rambled on and on. "Capture people for him to kill each other?" Lu Ming asked. "Yes. When a person's heart is filled with negative emotions, they need to vent. For example, Those who are bloodthirsty and those who drink blood will suppress their negative emotions and become more stable. As long as a person kills, their negative emotions will be suppressed. However, Commander Tungsten is different. He likes to watch others fight to the death. He likes to watch people fight to the death. When he watches such fights, his negative emotions will be stabilized. Otherwise, he would have gone completely crazy long ago. The old man continued to explain. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.